which is what we're going to be focusing on as a theme for today and tomorrow, or whether it's partnership between governments and between private sector organizations. Partnerships have been proven to be the real secret sauce for growth across the world. And all our speakers will validate this as we go through a truly impressive lineup, which I'll take you through in a few minutes. But to kick us off, I think our host, the director of the GEO Secretariat, Jana Georgian, who unfortunately had to apologize for not being here in person due to the executive committee of the GEO Secretariat being run at the very same time as this particular slot. But we do have what promises to be quite a motivational recording from Jana, which we are about to play in the next few minutes. So let me hand over to our controllers to kick off that video, and I'll be back in a few minutes to take you through our agenda for today.
Very warm and excited welcome to the kickoff of GEO Week 2021 and one of its first events, GEO Industry Track. My name is Jana Georgian. I'm the director of GEO Secretariat. This year, the Industry Track is back for the third year in a row, and I think I can safely say we have ourselves a new tradition. GEO Industry Track will become an integral part of the GEO Week event lineup. And this is in large part due to the energy, enthusiasm, and efforts of its lead organizer, ZA Space of South Africa, as well as our sponsors, Trimble, ESRI, and many partners who joined the call and participated in the organizing of this event. I'd like to think that there are some new faces in the audience, and so a few words about GEO in general would be of benefit. The Intergovernmental Group on Earth Observations is a partnership of 113 countries represented by their governments and the European Commission, and some 130 organizations, global, international, regional, and national level entities, collectively are participating organizations and associates who represent the public and private sectors, civil society, and the entirety of the information value chain. At GEO, we have a single vision and a simple mission. Our vision is to ensure that the decisions taken for the benefit of humankind are informed by reliable environmental information and underpinned by systematic, sustained observations of the Earth. Our mission is to create, convene strategic partnerships to co-design tools and services, co-create knowledge, aimed at answering specific questions that need to be answered by decision makers. Private sector has partnered with GEO since our early days. Private entities have been part of GEO work program activities, providing contributions of key foundational layers and services to several of our flagships and initiatives, community activities. In the recent years, we've also created new programs with companies like Google, Amazon Web Services, Microsoft, to democratize access to big Earth data, working with low and middle income countries and underrepresented communities. In fact, some of these programs are now in their second iteration, and we're looking to integrate the results from these projects into the mainstream work of GEO. And there are scores of small and medium-sized companies who are working at national and regional level with countries, communities, to support the same simple vision of GEO. It's been said in the last several years that we live in the golden age of Earth observations. Private investments into space technology sector are driving the addition of high-resolution data and products coming online, and companies developing digital public good portfolios. The GIS industry and community, including open source, is on the rise worldwide and has become unstoppable. Entrepreneurs worldwide are looking to leverage big Earth data and keen to develop niche solutions to inform decisions across varieties of sectors. That public-private partnership is the way of the future, is no question. And GEO recognizes public-private partnership as a strategic necessity to our accomplishing of our mission. It will be integral to the future direction that we set for GEO. Over the last 18 months, GEO conducted a midterm evaluation where we invited broad input on one question: how are we doing implementing our mission? The evaluation report highlighted an interesting finding, that the opportunity for private sector to engage with GEO is not uniformly or universally understood. So I would like to clarify. Our rules of engagement allow us to be reasonably agile and adopt varieties of schemas for partnering with the private sector to best meet the needs of the parties and the objectives of the partnership. So we invite you to enter into a dialogue with us. We're open to speaking with commercial entities who have digital public good portfolios and want to be part of the global action, support the communities worldwide to meet the urgent call for climate action, reducing disaster risk, building resilient cities, protecting public and environmental health. We also want to hear from companies who want to leverage GEO's multilateral platform and intergovernmental network to get ideas about where to innovate, in what areas decision makers are looking for solutions that can be developed to meet those needs. As we look to the future, we'll look to accelerate public-private partnership in GEO. And we're glad you're here with us today to help us shape that conversation. One more word about the future. I know everyone will agree that a key driver of our future are our young people. In fact, I know that many companies who participate in this industry track have considered diversity, equality, and inclusion in their organizational cultures. Here at GEO, we have just launched the first youth track, and after 4 days worth of events, we aim to establish our first GEO Youth Community of Practice. The youth from around the world, of all ages, of all nationalities, ethnicities, of all cultural backgrounds, they are going to be in the driver's seat of Spaceship Earth. I'm borrowing the words of Nicole Stott, a former NASA astronaut, artist, writer, and one of the judges of the GEO Art competition. And I invite the future architects and designers of the GEO industry track to consider how we can encourage more frequent conversation with the youth through the Youth Community of Practice of GEO. Perhaps next year's industry track can have a few sessions promoting a conversation with the youth to explore how they can be actively engaged in this public-private space. So with this, I wish everyone a very exciting participation in the industry track, and I cannot wait to hear what transpires over the course of these 2 days. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Jana. In your absence, those were truly inspiring words, particularly the youth track. I think that's a brilliant addition, and absolutely the idea of incorporating the perspectives of the youth is exactly what we need to be doing. Thank you for that. I also really enjoyed the invitation to dialogue, the commitment to co-creation. That's exactly what is required. It's not private or public sector, but it's about partnerships and co-creation. Fantastic, and thank you for setting the theme for the rest of the day. And we do have quite an interesting day. I want to just share with you some of the topics we're going to get through. If I can get that agenda up, please, before we go on to our first speaker. There we go. Not quite. We'll promise to show you the agenda in a few minutes, but not to delay our next speaker. We're moving straight ahead into our two expert talks. There we go. There's the agenda. We're going first into our keynotes, where we'll have a discussion by Mr. Will Marshall, led by Mr. Will Marshall, who's not here, but we'll share a video with Irene Benito, his colleague, staying with us for the Q&A. But once we're done with the keynotes, we'll move into several expert speaker topics, and then a very short break, which we hope you'll all come back from. And then we go into the highlight, really, from an SMME point of view, the company profiling. Today, we'll have 9 SMMEs profile themselves to everyone that's here, which we're particularly excited about. And then we'll end for the day at around 2 o'clock, or is it 3 o'clock Central Eastern Time. Very important is the networking session that commences thereafter. This is a great opportunity. You can go back to the reception or through the lobby to look at the networking links in order to be able to access that. Please do the same for the virtual booths that have been set up. There are just over 20 booths that have been set up, including those of the SMMEs and some of the sponsors. So please find your way to that. Again, go to reception and navigate your way to interacting with the virtual booths, which I believe will be open through the entire week. So thank you once again for being here. And without any further ado, we're going to bring up the video from Mr. Will Marshall, the co-founder and CEO of Planet. And should you have any questions, please put them on the chat. And I'm sure they'll be very well handled by Irene Benito, who's with us, to answer them. Thank you. See you in a bit.
Hi, my name is Will Marshall. I'm co-founder and CEO of Planet. I'm excited to be here and join you all at GEO Week. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Planet and some of the projects that we're working on. The general thesis that Planet set about was is that you can't fix what you can't see. You can't manage what you can't measure. Whatever your exact phrasing, data helps you to make informed decisions, and especially about real-time action. And so Planet set about imaging the whole world every single day and tracking changes and making those changes visible, accessible, and actionable. And in about 2017, we completed the satellite fleet necessary to image the whole world every day. And we're spending most of our energies on this visible, accessible, and actionable piece, because the main value proposition of a daily scan of the whole Earth landmass is to enable a move of the world from awareness of effects on the environment and agriculture and forestry and so on, to being able to take action to help those industries and sustainability causes. This is a quick video of how our fleet works. You all are mostly familiar with satellite systems, so I won't belabor it, but we have 180 satellites in a sun-synchronous orbit, polar orbit. Each one takes a strip of images. By the time the next one comes down, the Earth is rotated ever so slightly so that you take a strip next to the prior one. And collectively, since the Earth rotates underneath that plane every 24 hours, we scan the Earth's landmass every 24 hours. We also have a fleet of about 21 SkySats, which are at higher resolution, whereas the scan is at 3 meters per pixel. The SkySat fleet is at 50 centimeters per pixel. And this data is used on a task basis to focus in on areas of interest to our various clients. The systems are quite used in combination. Our scanning system can find changes that say new ship activities or a new building that can then use to trigger our high resolution satellite system to focus in with a higher resolution image where needed. This is our full fleet. We just completed the SkySat fleet with 2 launches of 2 SpaceX rockets of 2 sets of 3 SkySats into inclined planes that enable us to revisit any particular location up to 12 times per day, depending on latitude. We also just recently announced that our daily scan system, we've been replenishing with SuperDove satellites that now have 8 spectral bands, pretty much the same spectral bands as the Sentinel-2 system, minus a few, but matched with 8 of the core Sentinel-2 spectral bands. This is some of the facts that drive why we are doing this. We can help farmers improve their productivity and improve crop yields. We can help finance improve and measure their ESG targets. We can help manufacturers track their supply chains, forest management, and civil government to track illegal deforestation. The quick thesis, again, is not just being able to be aware of action after the event, but rather be able to be frequent enough to take action in real time. So historically, I think the satellite sector has primarily been providing images that enable us greater understanding, a tremendous service, especially Landsat and then and that series over the last 40 years. The hope is to really provide and enable that to move to action by having data on the timescale of human intervention. It's relevant for the 2 biggest global transformations of our time, and this deluge of new Earth observation data, especially from the Sentinel system and Planet's system, is enabling and supporting of these 2 transformations. Digital transformations is sectors like agriculture improving crop yield and efficiency, where big data and AI are doing things like that. Agriculture is one industry, there's lots of others: transportation, civil government, energy, and so on. And sustainability is the move towards a green economy. It's taking into account natural capital. And of course, the first step in taking into account natural capital is to measure it, whether that's countries measuring their emissions to companies measuring their ESG targets. Earth observation is critical and foundational to these transitions. There are 3 broad ways that help to drive sustainability. I'll talk about a couple of examples, but it's really measuring and monitoring, it's enabling efficient operations, and it's improving transparency and accountability. I'll give 3 examples. This first one, we have a partnership with Norway to track deforestation in 64 tropical countries, all the tropical rainforest countries, essentially. Norway pays for the data alongside data from Airbus, and we work alongside KSAT to provision services to the United Nations and the forestry ministries of these 64 countries on a regular basis to help them with policies to stop deforestation. We also enable that data on a monthly basis as a monthly base map to be made available as a digital public good for NGOs and academics to have use to, if you like, check the maths on the deforestation agenda. This is just a quick snapshot of some of our imagery in the Amazon basin, tracking deforestation there over the period of 3 years. That is the kind of data that underpinning this enables us to track and stop and help Amazon deforestation enforcement. In fact, our partners at Map Biomass in Brazil have seen an almost 10-fold increase in action against illegal deforestation on the back of the data provided. Some of the impact is mentioned here of this program. We've had now over 9,000 users, and we've had, most importantly, action happening on the ground to support and stop deforestation. Second example I'll just provide is in the area of coral reefs. We, over the last few years, we've been working in a consortium of NGOs and scientists around the world to, with the support of the Paul Allen's Vulcan Institute. It was one of the last projects Paul Allen helped to start prior to his passing. And this system monitors the coral reefs as the first classification map of all the coral reefs across the whole world. And luckily, most of the coral reefs are in sufficiently shallow waters, less than 15 meters depth, where we can actually still tell a fair bit of information about the coral type and so on, and health. And we've done that for the planet. And this system has already helped to spurn a number of countries, at least half a dozen, with their efforts to establish marine protected areas around these coral reef systems. That data too is available as a digital public good. You can go to allencoralatlas.org and see that. Thirdly, I just wanted to mention a new program we're working on that I hope will transform the fidelity of emissions measurements. And that's our project called CarbonMapper. CarbonMapper is an NGO that started this project as a consortium. It's a public-private partnership with the foundation sponsors as a partnership with NASA JPL to provide the instrument, and Planet providing the satellite bus. We're going to build a fleet of satellites that enables 400 spectral bands that will enable direct detection of methane and CO2 point source emitters. It is also incredibly powerful for biodiversity monitoring and commercial applications as well. For example, in the energy sector, that is also going to be a public-private partnership with part of the data on a certain cadence going out as a digital public good, and some of the data being commercialized underneath that by ourselves here at Planet. So it's a new mission, first launch in 2023. Really excited about this program. So this is a little video about the system being launched here. Let me just let that play. So with that, let me just wrap up and say thank you very, very much for listening. I hope this data is helping a myriad of projects. If you would like to partner with us, please reach out. Hopefully our data can support some of the projects and programs you're working on if they don't already. You can learn more about Planet, obviously at planet.com. Reach out to us. My email and contact details are below on this slide. And thanks very much for listening to me today.
Fantastic. Thanks, Will, again, and thanks, Irene. Open for any questions on that. Irene is here. I haven't seen any questions appear on the chat, but please, even if you think of something a bit later on, please post them there, and I'm sure between Irene, myself, or any of the other hosts will be able to respond to you. But thank you once again to Will for taking the time to record that, and for Irene for making the time to be here. That was very exciting. You know, no matter the number of times you watch these videos on the extent to which companies like Planet are investing in imaging the Earth, it's always fascinating to see. So thank you for that. Well, going on to our next keynote, the value of Earth observation. I'm very proud to introduce our next speaker, who's also been a critical part of our organizing committee, Emmanuel Pajot, Secretary General of EURSK. Emmanuel, welcome. Thank you for being here, and thank you for all your help in putting this event together. So the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. It's a real pleasure to be here today with you. My name is Emmanuel Pajot. I am the Secretary General of the European Association of Remote Sensing Company, the EURSK, which is a trade association based in Belgium, in Brussels. We represent 129 companies in 24 countries in Europe, and we have observer members in Turkey currently. Our aim is really to be an enabler in order to help companies to connect with stakeholders and user communities. And GEO is really the right place to promote capabilities and to develop partnership. EURSK is involved in a project such as eShape to develop connection between GEO and Europe, promote the capabilities, and involved in internalization project as well to develop awareness too. So talking about value, Earth observation is more and more used. It's a fact. We are really pleased to see this. In the EURSK industry survey we published 2 months ago, we can see that there is a sustained use of the technology, which really highlight that companies are delivering services fitting the needs. But the main challenge that companies are still facing is this acceptance of Earth observation as a really an operational tool for a lot of different markets and sectors and actors. Most of people are still not really aware about Earth observation. What are really the current capability? What can we do? Our Earth observation is currently already improving their daily lives. For some, the value can be really unclear. For each, the value will be really different. We, all of us in these sessions, are well aware on the power, the capabilities of Earth observation to contributing to tackle all the challenges the society has and will have to face. And we are all conscious that the technical presentations, the characteristic is often not appropriate in order to move from a push to a more global pull approach. A collaborative effort is really needed in order to address this crucial challenge of understanding, to identify if our Earth observation can really provide or is currently providing this benefit up to the citizen. And this is why we have EURSK done a significant effort in order to understand more how can we expose this. And the value is really something which is crucial. The value, and we define 6 parameters, is really one we can address in order to explain detail for the different categories of user or customer or end user. Our Earth observation is currently improving their daily lives. Of course, first of mind could come the economy for some of us. Impact related to the production of goods or services, which will directly have an impact of the monetary flow and jobs at the end. Obviously, environmental impact is crucial related to the state of the health of the environment. We are just at the Copernicus 26. We are all clear about where we have to go and improve. Regulatory one, which is a key impact linked to the development or the enforcement of the regulations. How can Earth observations can currently or will in the future develop in order to really support this policy and to the creation of new policies? It's still a challenge for sometimes. Entrepreneurship, all the development of a company will help in order to develop, introduce new technology in the market and tackle the challenges and provide solutions. The science impact linked to all the research, the academic, scientific research and development, which is done in order to develop, to advance the state of knowledge in a specific domain. And of course, the last, and the one we are all looking at, is the societal one. All the impact will be for the broader societal aspect. All each citizen will improve in order to have a better access to health, better security, and so on. So, after this COP26, we all know that we have a lot to do, and we can continue using the different examples we can in order to really promote this current benefit for each of the stakeholders. When we speak about climate change, the first came in mind is about ice. So I will start with this one. Ice is a crucial topic for a lot of reasons. The first one in this example is really about the need to map accurately this element, which is crucial in order to identify the climate change, yes, but to help people who live in this area in order to have the latest information about the location to improve the access to the different ports, for example. So if we look at the primary user of this, the company who has to do this in order to maintain the connection between the inland in Greenland and the continent, of course, we'll see the impact. But a lot of additional players in this area will benefit of it. For example, in this green line, all what is linked to the local fisheries, all what is linked to the transportation of goods in this area. But even for the citizens, they will have access to a better amount of stock in order to purchase and have in time what they need. So at the end, this will lead to a benefit for all the different actors and people who live there. Consequence of the height in the climate change, of course, is linked to the evolution of the sea level, which is a key concern in a lot of different areas. Really important presentation were made a few weeks ago. And there is a constant need to protect this island, for example, in the Maldives. Again, for the primary user, the company who would like to have access to Earth observation solution, the key point will be, how can I improve my operation? How can we detect and anticipate and reduce the preparatory work in order to operate better? This is what currently Earth observation is able to deliver. It will reduce the cost for the company, but as well for the authority there, as a secondary user, they will have the capability to better check, control what has been done and potentially where the next operation should be done. So it will have a direct impact for them. And obviously, for the citizen, again, this protection, because at the end, this is the aim of this dredging, will reduce the risk due to all the different events they will have to face, the sea level rise currently and locally, temporarily, the storm sea surge. But at the global scale, again, an additional benefit will be for the environment because it will reduce potential damage of the different coral, because it has been well mapped thanks to the updated maps done by the Earth observation, which will provide new insight of this. And it will also improve the reduction of the potential environmental footprint of this operation. Now, if we want to stay global, let's move into a third topic, forest. Forest is really a key asset for humanity. Forest is really at the focus point of a lot of different interests. Forest is obviously something which will play a key role in the CO2 storage. Forest is used in order to develop industry. Forest is where the biodiversity play a huge role, and we need to preserve it. In this example we did in Sweden, we can see obviously the primary user will be the national agency, which will be able to detect who didn't comply with the rules, who made illegal deforestation. So it's really the monitoring, the control. But secondary users will be, for example, the private owner, which will have advice in order to better exploit their asset, in order to develop the potential of this asset and so get long-term returns. Additional industry locally will benefit of the services purchased by the primary user. Telecoms, which will have to maintain all the electric lines, for example, or what is linked to the water supply, which could be affected by damage and so on, and electricity. So again, up to the citizen, all the ecosystem which has been developed thanks to these capabilities will really develop a better place to live, better conditions, and with a better environment for all the biotic, the environment, and the fauna on the floor. The preserved area will be maintained. Water is absolutely a key asset as well for all thematic which is across the world. Water on health. Health disease linked to water may have significant impact in a lot of different areas. Again, Earth observation play a crucial role in order to monitor the quality of these lakes. Services based, for example, in this place with Sentinel-2 and 3, are used to deliver a monitoring of the water bodies, allowing the state to really understand what are the conditions of the lake. It will improve the monitoring, reducing the cost for the in-situ prelevement to be done, but it will as well reduce or improve the capability of the district in order to understand what is the situation, what have they to do in order to improve the different operation. For the citizen to have access to a better quality of water, reduce the health issue, which will have a significant impact on all the health ecosystem. Again, if we do this at a local scale, this have an impact. But if we can develop a better global approach at the country scale, this will have a really significant impact for everybody. And water quality could be seen with different approach: the quality of the water and the reservoir. Exploitation, human activity can have a strong impact on our environment. We all know this, it is obvious. But technology from the Earth observation can play a crucial role in order to help to detect, but as well to quantify. Numerous years ago, the INSA on the use of SAR data in order to compute the ground deformation really highlighted the potential of this technique without any ground installation. Thanks to this, the operator of the aquifer can really develop a safer approach of this need, which is needed in order to provide water to people living there, in order to develop better sustained agriculture, without the risk to generate salty waters and so on. But again, it will impact the capability to anticipate the risk to destruct some building, to affect some building. So up to the citizen, which will have their estate there, these observation capabilities will improve the daily life of people. So with just these few examples, we can see that all along the value chain, from the primary user up to the end user, Earth observation has a lot of benefit to provide. We have to develop this knowledge. In this example, we just see a few. We collected other. You can have access to this on the EURSK website, EURSK SEBS studies. But we did more. In order to launch and to support the launch of the COP26, we invited our members to share with us some services which are supporting the SDGs. And we were really surprised, amazed by the huge number of answers we collected. We collected more than 120 services, and all of these are supporting one or several SDGs. If you want to be part of this dynamic, in order to really promote these capabilities, do not hesitate to contact us. We have this EOWiki platform, which is for free for all people, from the private sector, for the public sector. All together, researchers and companies, private and public sector, we can all contribute to this in order to improve the use, in order to support better our society. Thank you.
Thank you, Emmanuel. We'll just pause to check if there are any questions from the audience. Again, I've not seen anything on the chats. You're getting several acknowledgements, so that's great. But thank you once again. I think all those case studies highlight the power of partnership, and it's been really fantastic to see what you've done as EURSK. It's amazing to see 129 members, 25 countries. We've got a lot to learn from EURSK, which is really established itself as an amazing industry body. So thank you again for your time, and again to the audience, if there's further questions that you'd like to put onto the chat, please add them in, and Emmanuel's with us so he can answer them as we go through. Thank you very much, Emmanuel. Great. With those two fantastic keynotes from Will and from Emmanuel, it sets us up to now move into some of the expert chats, or the expert speakers. And the first one is from one of our sponsors, a case study on collaboration with GEO and Blue Planet, presented by Keith van Kruifeland, Principal Product Engineer from ESRI. Welcome, Keith. Really looking forward to hearing what you have to share with us. The stage is yours.
Great, thank you. It's great to be here this morning, and I'm excited to share some of the work that we've been doing with GEO over the past decade or so, and give you some examples of that work. As you mentioned, my name is Keith Van Graafland. I'm a principal product engineer at ESRI, and I work within a team called the ArcGIS Living Atlas of the World. And within this role, I work with authoritative data providers to help make their valuable content available to the community. And in turn, I work with the user community to better understand what their data needs are. And I focus specifically on ocean and coastal marine related content. And today I'm happy to highlight a project that we've been working on with the consortium of national agencies for the past 2 years. This project team is led by GEO Blue Planet, and we're working toward a solution for the United Nations Environmental Program, specifically Sustainable Development Goal 14.1. And for this SDG, we collaborate to develop an index for coastal eutrophication. That's for all countries globally that can be used to promote understanding and ultimately reduce coastal eutrophication. And I start with the end product. So here is the data that this team has been working towards and creating that's being reported by the United Nations. And here we see a map that's created by the UN Statistics Division, where we see these chlorophyll A deviations from the global averages. The results of our work has been adopted by the United Nations Environmental Program, and to us, that's really we're really happy that we're able to do this and provide this service to promote this understanding for coastal eutrophication. And some of you might be asking, what is coastal eutrophication, or what is eutrophication? And this really is something that is based on human-based activities, land-based activities. So we use in agriculture industry fertilizers that impact, our nutrients within our soils. During a rain event, these nutrients can be transported to the offshore environment through a rain, make it into the open water storm water systems that drain to the ocean. And during this transfer, you end up having a higher level of nutrients that make their way into the ocean, and these cause it changes the balances of these nutrients within the water system, and impacts organisms, impacts our water quality. And it's really being done by the land-based activities that humans are taking part in. So that's why we can make a difference and promote the understanding of how this is happening. In this, our process, our methodology is driven by satellite data that requires that regularly measures chlorophyll A concentrations at the surface of our ocean globally. And using this information, we are producing a set of maps that allows us to categorize those chlorophyll concentrations as high, moderate, extreme, and so forth, and then quantify the number of times these events are occurring within a country's exclusive economic zone globally. So we have a metric using this type of information and the frequency at which these events occur for each country, and those are compiled for each month, each year, and we have that going back until 2005 is where we chose to begin with this type of analysis. And this really is just an example of how we're working with GEO Blue Planet to help promote this understanding of what's going on our within our planet, or on our planet. And we do this throughout all different groups within GEO as well. So ESRI has a long-standing relationship with many national agencies like NOAA, NASA, the USGS, that compile the active member body of GEO. And coming out of these relationships, we have natural partnerships. And here are a few examples of how we work together in recent years and how we continue to work together. So here's an example of our Geogloss Partnership that has brought together experts from around the world to create a global streamflow forecast that is freely available, providing actionable information as a service to places with little or no, where little or no information like this exists. And it fills the gaps that can complement and strengthen national, regional, and local efforts. So this is a great example of how we've worked on a team to provide this within a mapping framework. And then these next three projects are driven by a GEO Ecosystems initiative to conduct and produce global ecosystem maps for terrestrial, freshwater, and marine ecosystems. So Roger Sayer from the USGS has been a project lead for these ecosystem mapping projects. And the first one of these is ecological land units. And then that coming after ecological marine units, we worked with Roger to do ecological marine units. And all this information is that I'm showing is being driven by Earth observation data. So the satellite-based land cover classifications are being turned into ecosystem maps for ecological land units. The good observation network by Argo, by the World Ocean Atlas, by those ships that are making in situ measurements are being transferred into these ecological marine units. And then the most recent project that we've worked on here is ecological coastal units that classifies each segment of the shoreline, 1 kilometer segment, and provides a level of understanding of where areas are similar, where they're different, and is truly an amazing project to work with Roger and the team on. So here is an example or a little bit deeper dive of ecological land units. So here we've got a 250 meter resolution product that uses bioclimate, landform, lithology, and land cover to combine that information into these 48,000 different combinations or facets is what we call them, to help describe the ecosystem for each one of those pixels. Here's the ecological marine units, and each cylinder that we see here within the ocean has different characteristics. And here we're symbolizing by the temperature of the ocean for each one of those cylinders. And then each different slice is a different cluster that has different assemblages that describe its characteristics based upon the good work of NOAA and the World Ocean Atlas and the network of people that contribute to that. So here we see temperature and salinity, dissolved oxygen, phosphate, nitrate, silicate being clustered together to show in a visual product where those information are very similar or maybe where they're different. And then the most recent project that we worked on is ecological coastal units. So this is 81,000 different segment units, or CSUs is what these different 4 million segments were clustered into. And then there's 16 different overarching groups of those coastlines that are called ecological coastal units. So these help describe the ecological setting of each one of these different locations. And you can click on a map and understand what the different land attributes, ocean attributes, and coastline attributes are anywhere in the world. It's a unified product for explaining our planet. and that's really exciting. So what is at the foundation for each one of these projects is really a relationship. So we have a relationship with many of these national agencies that turns into a partnership. We partner with these groups to help generate these products, and it's really a great natural relationship that happens. So these engagements that we participate in for GEO initiatives are always collaborations between industry and other industry partners and with other GEO agencies. So I've mentioned NOAA, USGS, United Nations, NASA, European Space Agency. There's tons of folks that are make up these teams, and it's always a team effort. It's a collaboration. And in many of these cases, we're supporting the work of the amazing scientists by providing the expertise to help define a methodology that can be implemented and applied within a GIS framework consistently. So thank you for listening about how we collaborate with different groups, and we're excited to be able to do this, and we look forward to what the future brings. So thank you.
Fantastic, Keith. Thank you. ESRI's always done such impressive stuff in collaboration, even in our country here. So it's inspiring to see what you've done in collaboration on a global scale. If some of the smaller organizations wanted to either have access to that type of insight or collaborate with ESRI, is there a channel for doing that? SMMEs, up and coming remote sensing Earth observation organization?
Well, there's always an opportunity to work together. I encourage you to reach out to, ESRI, either through email or ESRI is so widely distributed between all the different countries. We have distributors that are stationed within each country that I encourage you to reach out to them or to reach out to us directly. We have these different initiatives that we need help with. We would love to work with you, and let's figure out how to do that.
Fantastic. Thank you, and once again to the participants. If there's any further questions, I see there's some interesting content being shared already on the chat group. Please post them on the chat, and Keith is here to answer them even during the rest of the hour or so that's left. Thank you, Keith.
Thank you.
Great. So we might have a little shift in the agenda. We seem to have misplaced one of our speakers. So Revimbo, please return. All is forgiven. But in the meantime, our next expert speaker is going to address us around equity, diversity, and inclusion. And I'm particularly excited because I've recently reviewed some of the research work that Valerie Grant, founder and chairperson of Geotech Vision, has produced, and I'm excited to meet you, if not in person, then as close as we could get to in person. So Valerie, thank you for being here. Looking forward to what you have to share with us today.
Good morning. Just trying to get my presentation up. Okay, so good morning all again. So this morning it's my pleasure to talk to you about a new and exciting topic. Well, not really new, it's something that we should have been doing a long time ago, but it has become at the forefront. And so diversity, I'll start with the quote. Indra Nooyi, the former chairman and CEO of Pepsi-Cola, she said that diversity and inclusion cannot simply be delegated to one individual, that is a cop-out, and it should be on the CEO's plate as a priority and central to HR agenda, not something that ebbs and flows with quality of diversity of the inclusion leader. And that's so true. And so thinking about this topic, my initial thoughts were that diversity is inefficient on its own because a sense of belonging is really needed. That's the inclusion bit. And a sense of fairness, that's the equity part of it, is also critical, hence DEI. And so there has been so much discussion about diversity and equity and inclusion across all domains. But it has become especially important in the STEM field, and the geospatial industry is still lacking that element of diversity. And so it is very critical for our industry to be contemplating this. DEI is not about checking boxes or statistics. We cannot simply focus on DEI on a surface level, but rather it needs to be embedded into the organizational strategy and culture. And so senior geospatial roles already at this point in time, this research shows that it lacks diversity. Geospatial events and conferences also show a lack of diversity. And we cannot discuss DEI in a geospatial event without looking at geographic diversity. So as it relates to another often forgotten area of diversity are also persons with disability. So these are some things that I want you to think about as we go through. So this map shows you a 2017 global survey where the respondents were asked to rate the board diversity as either important or very important. Why did it come out? The results show that most thought that it was important or very important. Why is that the case? Apart from the fact that this has become spotlighted globally, it now touches.
My apologies, but the slides aren't scrolling. Just I think you're on your third slide from what I can see, but we can just see the first one right now.
Okay, not sure. It's scrolling from my end. Huh. Is that moving?
Just get it onto presentation mode. It might be. I can see it. It's not in presentation mode.
Huh. Okay, it's in presentation mode.
Sorry to interrupt. It was
no, that's fine. Not sure why it is.
Yeah. I've got you now on initial thoughts. You can see the slide that says initial thoughts.
Okay.
Yep.
Are you seeing? Is it moving along?
No, I think you might need to just manually click the next slide on your slide sorter.
Okay.
Okay.
I will do that then. So you're now seeing that one?
Diversity and inclusion is a world.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. So it has really become important because it has been spotlighted globally, and it now touches issues of employee engagement, fairness, human rights, and even social justice. When we look at the business case for diversity, it's well documented. It shows there is a growing body of research that indicates that diversity and inclusive teams really outperform their peers. And the graph that we're looking at really shows how the correlation between profitability of a company and executive gender, ethnic diversity among a statistically powered sample of 1,000 companies in 12 different countries. And it demonstrates for us that companies in the top quartile for gender diversity on their executive teams were 21% more likely to experience above average profitability than companies in the fourth quartile, which tells us that the diversity dividend is there. There is a business case for diversity. So our geospatial companies need to really be looking at that. An interesting situation, just like everything else, the pandemic has really amplified inequalities. And so even before the pandemic, the progress in advancing diversity in our industry was very slow. And historical challenges for diverse groups have only been exacerbated since the pandemic. The fact is that the crisis is really hitting emerging economies the hardest. Underserved communities have been hit harder and they're recovering slower than other communities. Gender inequality is increasing. There's more women out of work. And ethnic inequalities is also on the rise. So this has really put us in a state that we really have to think seriously about diversity in our industry. The pandemic has really also just underscored the importance of accurate, timely, and comprehensive data, and have revealed weaknesses in the national data ecosystems because different countries are at different levels, and that has been shown during the pandemic. And so there's a dire need for more collaborative, cohesive operations using GIS to really organize, analyze, visualize, and share that kind of data. But not just to talk about the challenges, though, what we want to focus on is there a sustainable future? We are all looking forward to that as we look at the SDGs. And so the fifth industrial revolution, a couple years, months ago, we were talking about the fourth. We're now speaking about the fifth industrial revolution, and it really requires a global workforce that is equipped with geospatial skills. And given that kind of digital transformation, we have to become a lot more inclusive. And so the geospatial industry now touches every aspect of our day-to-day life, and the innovation will play a defining role if we're really to build that sustainable and resilient world. But DEI context of geospatial industry actually touches 5 of the SDGs. It touches quality education, gender equality, decent work and economic growth, industry innovation and infrastructure, and the reduction of inequalities. So SDG 4, 5, 8, 9, and 10. And so it is something that we ought to be contemplating. We have to really look at. So having said that, we really need to look at this then. Leadership is what I believe is the most critical element. Leadership matters. And so good organizations are thinking about creating leadership that reflects the demographics of the communities in which that they serve. And they are making sure that, because they understand that diverse perspectives will really serve our industry better and serve a more diverse population, they are looking at that as being critical. So it's about being intentional and willing to put in that work. It's reshaping how we operate and the culture of the geospatial industry. And one of the critical role of leaders is to really nurture at a personal level. And this is going to involve mentorship. And mentorship is really supporting the development and career growth of other persons in the industry through coaching, through career advice, and through feedback. It's about sponsorship, and that is being someone's advocate in their career development. And it's about advocacy, showing genuine concern for persons within our industry, their well-being, and accommodating specific needs. So leaders have a great responsibility. They now have the opportunity to build a more resilient, a more equitable and inclusive industry that will strengthen organization and will drive sustainable business performance. So having said that, all is not lost. There are signs of progress within our industry. There are several initiatives that are promoting DEI. So many geospatial companies have formed employee resource groups. I can think of ESRI with North Star and Black Girls Map as an example. There are more companies that have diversity, equity, and inclusion strategies and have become more intentional regarding the importance of reinforcing DEI in their culture and in their community engagement. These include a company like Trimble, who launched a diversity strategy in 2020. There is also from the GEO Indigenous Alliance, since we're in a GEO conference, that's an example of being more inclusive and embracing diversity. And more organizations are focusing on DEI. We think of Women in GIS, Women in Geospatial Plus, and a new organization that is also doing that is one called EDGE. And that organization is basically ethically diverse geospatial enthusiasts. And their role is really to build a network of people with geospatial enterprises who support ethnic group of companies as well as individuals. There is GeoConnect, a very new company a team member of mine is involved in, and it's really about connecting industry with the geospatial talent and focusing on the BIPOC community. And there is GIS Bootcamp, a training provider that uses instructors from diverse backgrounds to make sure that their training is more relatable. And the topic of diversity is now on the Geospatial Conference agenda. We can think of the World Geospatial Forum, which happened a couple weeks ago in Amsterdam, and that was a topic there. It's now included in GEO Week 2021. So there is a raise in awareness of DEI, as well as with that raise in awareness, there is also the issue of raising the fact that there is some unconscious biases that are there, so that persons can start really looking at it. But how do we encourage diversity in the next generation? Well, some things that my team and I and others have been doing include things like having technology camps, having GIS Day events, providing internships, having student competitions, study tours, mentorships. Those are just some of the ways in which you can really promote diversity. Also having things like geospatial ambassadors among young persons. And so these are just some avenues. So I'm very hopeful. My hope is that soon geospatial leaders that would foster more inclusive environments, and that geospatial events and conferences will become a lot more diverse and inclusive. We'll have diverse speakers as well as attendees, and there will be equal opportunity in our industry. I hope that that becomes a reality very soon, because I am a firm believer that geography should not dictate one's destiny. And DEI mindfulness should be a part of that geospatial community. It needs to be top of mind. So we really need to have a pipeline of candidates as well for the next generation of spatial scientists. And so we have to be thinking about how can we do that so we can make sure that our industry remains diverse, or becomes a lot more diverse, I should say. So how do we drive that change though? I believe that there are several organizations that can help us in doing that. And these include organizations like the World Geospatial Industry Council. I know that I'm a part of a committee on that council that is looking at diversity, equity, and inclusion. So it's become a topic. The United Nations Global Geospatial Information Management Private Sector Network. Again, that is a discussion that is happening at that level. I hope too that organizations like EURSK is looking at it. I hope that organization like the Group on Earth Observation continues to look at this issue of diversity and inclusion and equity, and that companies all across the geospatial world domain really do what they can in terms of diversity, because it's really everyone's concern. So I leave you with the words of Margaret Mead, who said, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. It's the only thing that ever has." So may we do our part to make sure that our industry becomes a lot more diverse, inclusive, and equitable. Thank you.
Valerie, thank you for that passionate and powerful message. I agree with everything you said. Having grown up in South Africa, pre and post apartheid, I can absolutely confirm that you have to fix the value chain right at the beginning. The education system needs to create the talent to transform the businesses and the industries that you're talking about. I think it's everyone's duty to enlist those items that you said. So thank you for that. Are there any questions, any comments on the chat group? I've seen a few affirmations on the emojis come through, so well done. Again, if there is anything that you'd like to share, I'm sure we'll have copies of the slides as well available post the session. Valerie, thank you so much. Moving on to our next speaker, expert speaker, Ruvimbo's come back. Thank you, Ruvimbo. We're going to talk about IP transfer, open data, and regulations, presented by Ruvimbo Samanga, the CEO and founder of AgriSpace Africa. Remember, we're very keen to hear your points of view on this. Justine will make sure that the floor is now yours. Thank you. I remember, I think you might still be muted. Can you just double check that? We can't hear you. Can I just get a sense? Can everyone hear Ravimbo? I can see that you're speaking, Ravimbo. I just can't hear you. It might just be the microphone using. Okay, let's give Ravimbo a few minutes to just get closer. I think we can hear, but very, very faint. So it might just be getting closer to the microphone. Better. Unfortunately, not. It's still not audible. I remember. Should we go on a break and come back in a bit? Would that work better? Okay. Hi, everyone. It looks like we have a bit of a technical difficulty, which hopefully we can resolve in the next few minutes. I think we're going to suggest that we take our break now. We're a little bit behind schedule, given a slightly late start. It's now 25 past 1, correct? 13:25 Central European Time. We're scheduled to take a 10-minute break. I think this will be a great time to take it. And when we come back, we're hoping we'll get Ravimbo back on. If not, we'll go straight into our company profiling exercises where you can meet today 9 SMMEs that will be introducing themselves to you. But we'll go on a break for the next 10 minutes. We'll see you back at 13:35 Central European Time. Thank you. today. We just realized that there are some technical limitations to this wonderful platform that we're using. So we've had to restart the session, but we've got most people back. Thank you all for being back here. And we're going into probably one of the personally parts of the session that are the most exciting, because this is where we get to meet the future Trimbles and the future ESRIs and the amazing innovations that's going on all around the world. Today, we'll be profiling 9 of a total of 16 SMMEs that come from 14 different countries, selected by the organizing committee to quite an open process over the past few weeks. And in addition to that, we have a panel of experts who will be hearing, listening to their inputs, and potentially even guiding some of their growth actions. And we have Pat Cummins, a very active and supportive member of the organizing committee, Director for Government Strategy and Policy Solutions at ESRI. Welcome, Pat. We have Albert Momo, Vice President and Executive Director, also one of our sponsors, together with ESRI, from Trimble, and again, supportive and very active in our organizing committee. We also have Hervé Common, the program manager from TerraGeo. I'm hoping Hervé joined us. And they will be receiving the presentations from the 9 SMMEs. And from the SMMEs perspective, we're ready to kick off with Rastaman. I really love that name. Dr. Peter Baumann, the CEO and founder from Germany. Dr. Peter Baumann, you ready, sir? The floor is yours. Looking forward to hearing about your organization.
Thank you very much. And thank you for having me here. It's an honor for me to start. Without further ado, let's get into the topic. It's about data cubes. And this is the game changer that is going to happen, that is happening currently. So we talk about Earth data, multidimensional spatial-temporal Earth data, and analytics on that. This is relevant for time series analysis, the killer application, in particular with artificial intelligence, specifically machine learning today. Sorry. Okay, maybe not addressing me, so I'm just continuing. We do have a mature product with several QSPs. We are actually a university deep tech spin-off that is profitable, and we are seeking venture capital for growth.
Peter, you muted yourself.
Okay, thank you for the hint. Back again in the game. So many data are actually not even looked at, are not evaluated today. We have them all, but it's just too cumbersome to get to them. Data cubes actually are the future. They make big data access easy, ready for analysis, and actually boosting artificial intelligence to scale new heights, new volumes, and we can combine data distributed over the planet in real time. So that is the way forward, unleashing the potential. Of course, that doesn't come alone by itself. This is currently done by the users to get data analysis ready, and this is pushed back now to the data providers. They need to have the tools to make data access easy, and this is where we support them. The market demand is high. Global industry analysts say there's an unprecedented demand for various types of analysis, variety. Demand is on rise for better workflows and automated imagery analysis, simplification. With new applications evolving for various types of services, demand for big data analytics and management that offer new value proposition. So these aspects are well known, and that is what the market is expecting from future tools. Our focus is on enabling providers and users of spatial-temporal big Earth data with fast, scalable, flexible, and secure services. And the vision is that you can get insight anytime, as simple as a TV with zero coding. The strategy is leadership in the technology of big data cube analytics, customer orientation strictly, and partnerships for end-to-end solutions, because we understand that data cubes always come embedded into some larger ecosystems. Okay, and here it is, this fancy word, rasterman, standing for Raster Data Manager. The principle of actionable data cubes is what we have invented quite some time ago. And today you see the word data cube popping up with several epigons that try to follow that. Actually, this principle of any question, any times, we have underpinned with a massively scalable, federated big data cube analytics engine. This is mature and in operational use worldwide. So we have assets that hold more than 30 petabytes. We have parallelized single queries over more than 1,000 Amazon cloud nodes. So it works and it scales. We are actually makers of the standards in data cube world, and so we naturally became reference implementation, and there is a long continuing line of innovation awards. The business model behind is, classically, we have sold licenses. This is the left column, on premise. So do the data cubes yourself. But we understand that the market wants more. Our customers requested that. And so today we also offer data cubes managed on-premise or in some virtual cloud, where actually you can have your data private just for your use, or you can offer them publicly. And then we have ready-made offerings on the diocese, so large-scale satellite image archives. So in the end, any scenario we can support readily, and we have customers for each of the scenarios actually. Gets me to the company. As I said, it's a spin-off situated in Bremen in Germany with a very strong, committed expert team that is actually supported by my research group at Jacobs University, where I'm professor of computer science. And the interesting thing is, IT experts, 1 PR, no sales yet. And still, we are profitable. We sell licenses at a price between 36K and 126K, so on average about 80K per license. We can set the market prices. There are open source contenders, which are theoretically for free. And actually, they are so far away in functionality that in particular industry enjoys the extra value that we offer. And that has led, for example, to a 100% revenue growth in 2021. So where do we go? Actually, our target market segments are managed living resources, so agriculture and forestry, energy, natural resources, industry, services, agencies, and the security aspects. Everywhere you see a green part here, we actually have customers in this segment already. So we know the sub-markets, the verticals, and we know their needs, and we know how to respond to this. By the way, getting back one slide, just to mention a little bit, BASF, Telefonica is among our customers, research institutions like Alfred Wegener Institute, etc. So why do we stand out actually over the competitors? Performance benchmarks independent from us has shown that we can be up to 400x faster than competitors. Scalability, it has demonstrated on a nanosat and up to supercomputers, clouds, and federations. Flexibility, you can ask any query anytime without programming. So we are unleashing the whole thing for non-coders, for those who need such insights but cannot do programming, say in Python. Federation, a location transparent planetary scale single data pool that is in place already. So that is already with 31 petabytes, I believe, right now. Standards, most comprehensive support for the data cube standards in the market, reference implementation I mentioned, and actually maker of the data cube standards. And very important to our customers, even research institutions, security. So we support standard role-based access control, however tailored to data cubes and effectively configurable down to single pixels. And due to this combination of key USPs, actually we can set the price in the market. So where do we stand? We have a tool that is well recognized and known in the communities, doing big Earth data cube analytics. It's a mature deep tech product, as it's called today, with significant key USPs. The company is profitable, 100% growth this year, and this without sales even. So what would we do with a good sales team? Everything is ready. We just need to sell it. And therefore, we are looking for an investment, for growth, for rapid international expansion. We already sell licenses up to Taiwan, for example. So we are already international. It's just missing the sales team. And so we want to boost that business. We want to reap those benefits which are available if we just have the growth part, and that is in particular a sales team acting worldwide. Therefore, I believe, I'm convinced, a very safe investment because it's not a dream, it's reality, and it's high performance because there's a really high market growth potential. And with that, I would like to close, take a deep breath, and actually want to show you the Federation live in an example. As I understand, I have 1 minute left. And so let us look at demo. Here is a query that is expressed in WCPS, which is a standardized data cube language. I cannot say what it does. The climate model has told me it determines heavy rainfall risk areas on the planet. I see that we use precipitation and Landsat 8 data. So that let's fire that against Code DE, the German Sentinel hub. We get a result, which we visualize here in NASA Worldwind. But more interestingly, we see the path of the query. It went from my location approximately down to Code DE. They found out, oops, I don't have all data. Fortunately, I can ask my friend Creo Diaz in Warsaw. We can also send the query to them. And now they reciprocally have the same problem. The server needs to ask Code DE to generate the same result. And hey, what did you just see? That was real-time distributed data fusion. How long does it take for people to do that today? And here we do it in real time without even knowing where the data are. And with that, let me stop here and give back to the moderator. Thank you very much for bearing with me, for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Baumann. That was intriguing. I'm going to invite Albert and Pat for any comment.
I will let Pat go first. So Pat, please go ahead.
You're muted, possibly. I'm sorry, I cannot hear you.
You're unmuted now, Pat. Yeah.
Okay. Now I get you.
You can hear her. I cannot hear her.
No, I cannot actually. I hear some sound, but it was something different, obviously.
No. Albert, maybe I can ask for you to share your comments whilst Pat figures out potentially a connectivity.
Okay, I can go first then. Can you hear me well?
Loud and clear, yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm really impressed with what you have with Razdaman. Is the combination of big data and analytics is something that is very promising. My only concern, and I mean concern questions, is you mentioned licenses, but I was wondering if licenses for you is actually a subscription-based system, or license is a cost that you pay once and for all, because I see this more as a subscription-based model.
Good question. Thank you for that. Actually, both is possible. You can acquire a license, which then is unlimited in time. It's yours forever. or you can just go to an existing service and come there with a subscription-based model, for example. So we offer all options that are possible that customers want.
Okay, that's good. And my other concern, question / concern, is your input model. Whenever you work on data, there is
Yes.
always this concern on, where are you getting your data from? And how sustainable is your model? Are you, today, Sentinel data are free, Landsat data are free, but what about 5 years from now? What about, or are we going to have other players that may see value on the root data, and that may affect what you have, what you give?
Mm. That is another very valid question. So indeed, currently we have basically the two options. People have their data, customers have their data, they want to manage them, and they don't want to publish them, but the advantage is for themselves. The typical case here is Telefonica. It's radio networks planning, they don't want to publish that. So they want to have some closed setup. On the other hand, we provide open setups with DSs, and here we rely on data that are available for free. So everybody can download and work with the DS Sentinel product data, the scenes, of course, for free, but with us, you get an improved service, and this is what you pay for. For the future, we intend to go also into further models, like, for example, data that are paid, where we have to pay for. But this is something that needs careful planning because we need to pay upfront. And therefore, we have delayed that and concentrated on the direct benefits first.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have. Once again, is very impressive. It's very interesting. I thought at some point, at the beginning, that what is customer base, and is there a need to expand the customer base? But when I saw the list of your customer, I think you got it.
Absolutely. We do have customers from small SMMEs, research institutes, large industry, public agencies. So the full spectrum is already covered. It's just too small. We want to grow it larger.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you, Peter.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Peter.
And I Kamal, can you hear me now?
Yes, perfectly, Pat.
All right.
Welcome back.
Thank you. And I'm sure our time is rather short here, but it was a very impressive presentation. And I think the skill set you bring to the table here would be very much of interest to a number of the different GEO initiatives. So I don't know if you have looked at getting involved. I think one way to kind of grow your footprint is by getting involved with GEO and participating in some of the program areas that have a strong interest in data cubes. I know that it is a growing interest across different regions. I know AmeriGeo is currently having active conversations about data cubes. And I was curious whether you have explored either one of the regional or a thematic, perhaps in the area of GeoGlam. A lot of interest in the kind of addressing kind of the crop and food sustainability issues are dealt with in GeoGlam. Is that something you've looked into? And if not, I encourage you to.
Thank you for this hint, Pat. I definitely will want to follow on GeoGlam and these initiatives. We are engaged in a couple of them. For example, we are very visible in European Inspire, but this exactly hits the point of we don't have the amount of resources to cover the full breadth of opportunities that are coming up now, which really hurts looking at something and you just don't have enough resources. And this is exactly the point where we want to boost with an investment to realize all those opportunities. But GeoGlam specifically, I will look at that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent, Peter. Thank you very much for your time and the effort that went into preparing that. All the very best with all the very best with your with the rest of the progress with Rastaman. I have no doubt it's going to make its global impact very, very soon.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
On to our next speaker from Cosmos Pix, Katya Stambolivia. I hope I pronounced that correctly, Katya. Looking forward to hearing you.
You pronounced it correctly. Thank you very much, Kamal. Hello, and looking at the list of participants, I should say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Let me see. Perfect. Oh, yeah. Is it possible for you to allow me to share my screen? I think that's going to be easiest because then I can change my slides by myself. Yes, perfect. Thank you very much. Share screen. Perfect. You should be able to see AirMeet now, and now you should be able to see my presentation. Could you confirm this for me, please?
Perfect. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay, let's restart again. Hello, my name is Katya. I am the CEO of Cosmos Pix, and we exist to help you see the invisible. We build a no-code, do-it-yourself platform for getting and analyzing satellite images, and we do this for two reasons. We want it to be domain agnostic, so whatever kind of problem you have, you can solve it with us. And we require you to have zero prior tech knowledge because still getting and analyzing satellite images is more or less a technically intense job. We need to understand satellite image analysis, and we also need to understand programming and server architecture. We would like to remove these complexities from the process. There are many different I cannot change my slides. Sorry. There are many different problems that we can address. And one of those problems is, for example, mining. We can use, we need to understand where we can get materials from, and we need to understand whether old mines are polluting and are not regenerating in the environment. We also would want to track water use and see how this is going in our locality or in our country. And we would like to understand how environmental regeneration and restoration is going on. Following the example with the mines, we would like to see whether old mines are being regenerated or whether they're not polluting nearby waters, like this image of gold and copper poisoning of a river close to a mine in Romania. Sometimes we want to look at environmental regeneration in a broader scope. And these are just a number of 3 different problems that we can solve with satellite images. So how can we see this? The answer is satellite images, and satellite images help us see the invisible. For example, if we're looking at materials extraction, we can create analysis like this to highlight the copper deposits of on the land, and this image is courtesy to ESRI. Or we could filter everything out and just concentrate on the water and understand, given different satellite images over time, whether the water deposits are shrinking or are growing big. We can also zoom in very much and see all of the details of the reforestation or environmental regeneration projects that we are currently doing. And we do this with the help of Cosmos Pix. We built the simplest platform for satellite images. Sometimes we would like to look at acquiring freely available satellite images, and sometimes we would like to acquire commercially available satellite images. And we aim at doing this in an easy way for you and giving you the possibility to store all of your images in my library, including the images you already have. You can just upload them on the platform and have a library of satellite images that collects all the satellite images that you have. And sometimes they're on our servers, sometimes they're on our computers locally or on external hard drives. We, of course, need to be able to see the satellite images that we do. And this is something that sometimes it's still difficult. And we make this easy for you. It's all in the cloud and it's all on the platform. So you just need to go to your library and select the satellite image that you would like to visualize. But most importantly, we allow you to build different types of analysis on top of those satellite images. This is an example of what one of our clients is interested in, and in this case, they are mainly interested in mining and in wildfire mitigation. This is why you see these analyses here. But one of the most simple analysis that we offer is just a simple comparison between two satellite images. The comparison looks like this, and this is a scroller that you can move to the left or to the right to see the difference between the two images, and usually the earlier image stays here so that we can see the progression over time compared to the image on the right. And in this case, we show you the difference between a 10-meter resolution satellite image and a 50-centimeter resolution satellite image. And you can see that the difference is great. And sometimes we need to have very high granularity. Sometimes we can just do very well with freely available satellite images. Sometimes what we want to do is highlight danger and risky zones on the map. And in this case, we use the satellite images to analyze them, and then we highlight zones of dangers for you on the map. Or we can show you again a comparison between the analysis of before and after the satellite images. And in this case, we are comparing the state and the density of vegetation. This is within the context of wildfire mitigation. The industries that find Cosmos Peaks very useful are mining, defense and municipalities, and other B2B players. And of course, there is a very good chance of these industries growing in the future. But with us, as well as Rastaman, we are still growing and we are at the beginning of our journey. We invite you to choose Cosmos Peaks when you want to have autonomy, to run a proof of concept and see what analysis you can get for the problems that you are working on, and to do things simple. And finally, I would like to introduce you to the team that is in charge of this part of the platform of Cosmos Peaks. We 5 are here to support you on your satellite image analysis journey and to make everything very simple and easy. And this is everything from me. We are Cosmos Peaks, and we help you see the invisible. If you're willing to have a conversation with me later, here you can find my contact details. I'll post them in the chat right after I finish talking. And now I believe we have a couple of minutes left to hear some feedback from the GEO Work Program and GEO Associates communities. And it will be amazing for us to see how we can get more involved with the GEO community. Thank you very much.
Fantastic, Katja. Thank you so much for that. I think it's very insightful. We see you, so you've helped us do that. Albert and Pat, over to you. Pat, maybe this time you go first.
All right. Well, thank you, Katja. That's very, very impressive. I think in the GEO community, I think that whole idea of the kind of the low code capability to create your own analytics will be very popular in a number of different work program areas. And of course, the skill set that you bring to help, I think, kind of do the ideation, do the brainstorming on how the technology can be used could help address a number of the different work program areas. I think since you have kind of identified, it seems like mining is a strength, a forte, or particular interest areas. I think looking through the GEO Work Program to find out where that may be a topic of interest. The one that's coming to mind to me may be the GEO LDN, the GEO Land Degradation Neutrality. Although that's not one that I'm very familiar with, but that may be one that's worth taking a look at. But there's so many different activities going on around the GEO program I think finding that sweet spot of programs that are interested in that mining and tracking the land changes in the land, either in the kind of in the forestry. You also mentioned that one. That could be another area. But I think that you bring a lot to the table that would be of interest and maybe could streamline, support, and help advance some of the ongoing projects.
Thank you very much, Pat. These are very kind words. I'll definitely follow up and see how we can help.
Thank you.
Yes, Katia, I think the presentation was great. The concept is good, and I was struggling at some point. I was asking myself, how am I going to define CosmoPix? Is it a software slash platform company, or is it a service provider company? And by keep on listening to what you have to say, I made up my mind. Is a service provider. So when I was thinking of software, I was kind of concerned. As you know, there are so many software out there, trying to do the same thing. And Trimble, we ourselves, we have e-connection that provide feature extractions and stuff of that nature. So I was like a small company coming in that in that arena, that may be a call for struggle. But like I say, listening more to what you have to present, I change. I say, okay, actually, this is a service provider company, and on that aspect, I think you are doing great, because you have very well defined who your customers should be, and you also well define what your product will bring to those customers. My only suggestion to you, and that's a little bit in line with what Pat just said by mentioning Joe, but for me is to make sure that you have real partnerships that you need to go after. And I'm thinking, satellite companies. I'm thinking other satellite providers, right? So you want to people, when they say we can go through CosmoPix to download Landsat or Sentinel images, to know for sure that in a quick turnaround we're gonna have not only the image but the intelligence behind the image from what you guys are going to do. So I think it's very important for CosmoPix to secure some good partnerships with those organizations. But though, that's a great concept overall.
Thank you very much. Yes, we have been working on securing some partnerships. We've secured some already, and we're looking to extend the list of partners. So for some of you, whether you're a participant or a speaker, if you would like us to talk about partnering together, drop us a message or contact me directly, and I'll be happy to talk to you. Thank you very much for the suggestion.
Fantastic and excellent input from both Albert and Pat. Thank you, Katia. Best of luck as you
Thank you.
grow CosmoPix. Over to our next profiling candidate, Cropix AgMap. We have Dietrich Heinz, the CEO and the founder, to take us through his organization. Welcome, Dietrich.
Welcome, and thank you for the invitation. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Let me first try to upload or to share screen. Do you see my screen?
Yes, it's there. Thank you.
Okay. What I'm going to talk about is maybe not so complex. The story, maybe first a bit about my background. I'm coming actually from agriculture, from agricultural research. And I later studied geoinformatics, and I was working for a certain time for a reinsurance company, running field trials and trying to calibrate SAR data to see the change after events. And what I want to present here or focus on in my presentation is a comparison between data from SAR and optical data. So to give you a bit an impression how it looks like and how it compares. Because what we have as well is we have a WebGIS platform where we present our map products for 10 examples around the world. And there is only Sentinel-1 data, map products from Sentinel-1 data. And so if you would like to see somehow how it compares to the optical data, then I would like to do that in this presentation. Our first map product, which we derived from Sentinel-1 SAR data, is a vegetation index. Vegetation index that shows crop development over the season, over different seasons, and it is ideal for crop monitoring and for time series analysis, because SAR data, as you may know, is independent from atmospherical disturbances, from clouds and fog and smoke and so on. And you have relative low noise in the measurement, and that enables you that you can derive, for example, a baseline over several years and then compare the actual situation with this baseline, or you can compare as well with the image before and calculate directly the change, because it is still one of the most important concepts in remote sensing is change detection. And especially when we think of crop insurance, then you often need to see how was it before an event, how was it after an event. The crop you observe, or the particular plot you observe, had already a pattern, a growth pattern, and after the event it gets another pattern, and now you have to see how much this event influences the crop. The legend for this map product you see on the right side. The values range from 1 to 100, and it is over all different crops and over all regions and seasons. The advantage of the Copernicus data, where Sentinel-1 is one satellite from this group, is that the data is available. The raw data is for free, and it covers the whole world in a regular schedule. So we have, for most regions, we have 6 days, and in some regions we have a 12 days repetition. And the ground resolution is 20 by 20 meter, which is for agricultural applications. In many cases it's suitable, except where the plots are very small, less than 2 hectares, then the resolution appears a bit low. The second map product which we developed is a water index. It was calibrated against optical data from Sentinel-2, the NDWI GAO from GAO. And this one shows the humidity in plants, and it is useful to see drought, if a drought is developing over the time. And of course, it is useful for irrigation schemes. The legend you see here as well for this map product, it ranges from 0 to 150. And again, the data is available from all over the world. The examples I would like to show you are from Hungary. This is as well one example which we have in our WebGIS application, which we call IMAP. The first image is a color, a true color image. On the right side, you see the Sentinel-2, the RGB. That is how we would see it as well if we would fly over it. The plots which are a bit yellow in this stage at early May are flowering rapeseed plots. So they appear in yellow, and what appears in green is normally winter cereals, rye, barley, wheat, and all the brown plots are bare soil, or there is summer crops are already planted, but the vegetation is very sparse, so you still see bare soil condition. On the left side, we have a color composite, which is derived from Sentinel-1 SAR. And there you see that the plots, which are rapeseed, have relative high value in green, and the SAR has a different physical measurement. It measures the roughness and the structure and the humidity of the surface, so it will not change its appearance if the crop turns into yellow because it is flowering. This example now is the same date. On the left side, you see this vegetation index, and on the right side, you see the NDVI 1 day later. And there you see that especially these plots, which are a bit yellow, those are these rapeseed plots where the NDVI shows a lower value. Normally, NDVI reflects the content of chlorophyll. So when the flowers are yellow, you have a lower value there. But in the SAR, in the vegetation index, those plots appear with a relative high value because you have a lot of vegetation biomass there, actually. Then the same date, the SAR water index compared with the NDWI. We see here more or less as well the same pattern, whereby the values are in different ranges, but those plots which are vegetated have show a high humidity, and where you have bare soil, you have low humidity. The same region now in mid of July. In mid of July, in this area, the winter crops are partly already harvested, and some are just before harvest. And in optical data, you see them, they are not green anymore, they are already brown. But in SAR, you will see that there is still biomass, because no matter if the biomass is green or brown, it still has the same vegetation height, it still has the same structure, and the humidity is going out of the plants while it is maturing. So you see, you can follow the maturity stage by stage better in the SAR data, because yeah, it's a more prolonged process there. Here, for example, if you compare in the NDVI, there are some of the plots are already, they look like bare soil, but they are not yet bare soil. There is still vegetation is standing there, but it is not yet harvested, but it is as well not anymore green, and that's why it appears here in brown. It has a low NDVI, which means it has a low chlorophyll. In SAR, you still see that there is something, and that the values go back or go down. And that means that the plants are in the maturity phase, and you can follow up the, when it is the right time perhaps to harvest, or where to start to harvest your crops. The same here in the SAR water index, it shows quite nicely the different zones of maturity and how far this has developed. And for farmers who use precision farming or have to organize their machinery, then they can use such kind of data to lower the costs and to be more efficient. The third example is then from early September. early September means in this area that the winter crops are already harvested completely, all of them. And the summer crops, which is mainly corn and sunflower in this region, are growing up. Some plots here appear a bit in yellow. That is sunflower, most probably. And what you see on the Sentinel-1 SAR color composite, this one plot, which appears very bright in yellow, there is a high roughness on the soil. That is probably because of plowing. So there is a higher is another value because the surface of the soil has a high backscatter. In the ESVI, we see that it is reflected as bare soil, what it is as well in reality, and that those plots which are now summer crops, they appear in green, and some of them are as well in maturity phase. So the values are going down bit by bit. And that the last one is again from the same date, SAR water index compared with the normalized difference water index from GAO. So there's one plot where we have a very high value in the SAR water index, but a low value in the NDWI. That is because of the roughness from the plowing, that it appears there in a high value. That is the last image which I want to show you. Here we have, it's not a map product as such, but it is a visualization of ESVI, this vegetation index. We call it evolution. It's a combination of 3 ESVI succeeding dates, which are combined to a color composite. And once you start to work with it, it's very easy to perceive, because what is green high biomass value over these 3 acquisitions. So let me go back. I'm through. Do you still see my screen? No.
Hi, Dietrich. No, we've lost your screen, but
yeah, it's good. I'm through with it. Yeah, that is, as I said, that is what I wanted to show you. We have this kind of map products. We can calibrate it for all regions around the world, I mean, where agriculture takes place. And we offer this service to people who work in the field of precision farming, or people who work in the field of crop insurance, or for organizations who want like to do a crop monitoring over large areas. We believe that the big advantage of Sentinel-1 SAR is that you have this data availability, that it is granted, that you really can deliver data when it is necessary, because we found that it is critical if you set up a scheme where data is only one part needed. Most of the things which are as well costly are hardware, software, training to the people. You have to set up a whole scheme. And if then you cannot deliver data because it's not available due to clouds, then I mean, it's a big disappointment to all the stakeholders. So we said, okay, let's try to do it with SAR so that we can grant that we really have images and that we can do a good and I mean multi-directional change detection over the season with the last acquisitions and so on. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Dietrich. Thanks, Albert. Pat, any points for Dietrich?
I know we're running way over time, so I'll just keep my comment to, I mean, these are really impressive examples and they really help tell the story. I think that GeoGLAM would be the Geo Global Agriculture Monitoring Group in the Geo Program work area would be a place for you to connect. I think they would be interested in seeing this, and I'll leave it at that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I will do the same. I'm gonna have only a short comment. It's clear that you have a vision, you have a product. My only question or my only comment is: have you considered other sensors than Sentinel? Because you have so many other ways to work with vegetation index. So I know yours is an enhanced one, but are you considering using other sensors and connecting with things like NDVI and other ways to capture vegetation index? So that's probably my only concern.
Yeah. Of course, we have done that. In the beginning, we have used other SAR sensors like Cosmos SkyMap, but then it is, of course, if you have to buy commercial data and you want to give forward the costs to the customer, then normally the business case is, it's not possible. So the big advantage here, of course, with Sentinel-1 is that the raw data is for free. Now, optical data, of course, is available. Landsat, Sentinel-2, we use it intensively, mainly for calibration, mainly for check how our results are. So there we did a lot of work. When it comes to let me say automized integration of this data, then you have faced again the same problem, because if for a certain map product it is needed that you have an optical component and the data is not available, then again you fail. So here the approach is really that the map products are based on this kind of data source, and that grants that you can be sure more or less the whole year round that this data is available.
Okay. Thank you, and good luck for that.
Thank you as well for your comments and for inviting me. Bye-bye.
Dietrich, thank you so much. In the interest of time, I want to just point you to some questions that have been posed to you on the Q&A and on the chat group. If you don't mind just responding to that whilst we bring up the next speaker, if that's
No,
okay.
it's fine. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Okay. Thank you, Dietrich. Our next speaker is from Spain. We're going to look at orbital EOS. Juan Pena. Juan? Yes.
Yes,
Thank you.
hello. Good morning, everyone. I'll try. Okay, I'm going to try to share my screen. And hopefully you would be able to see it, right?
Perfectly. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much for the introduction. My name is Juan Peña, and I am the CEO of Orbital EOS. So EOS stands for Earth Observation Solutions. So we are an analytics company. We use satellite imagery and artificial intelligence in order to develop products. And today I want to talk to you about detecting, characterizing, and forecasting oil spills from space. So I would like to start with a reflection. Uncertainty is the new normal. We live in a very, very complex world nowadays, and it's not hard to recognize that often we have more questions than answers about the world we live in. So I would like to play a little quiz with you. Let's imagine that you are a decision maker, and you have to deal with an environmental crisis that implies high financial and environmental risks. And these are the facts that you are given. There's been a major leak in an oil refinery close to the shoreline. We don't know when the pipeline will be fixed. And the oil spill is moving freely at sea, threatening as well other countries. So this is exactly what happened in Western Mediterranean this summer. An oil refinery in Syria experienced a major leakage in an oil tank that was containing 20,000 tons of oil. So you can imagine that the challenge that we face is enormous, because oil spills can be quite large and very, very dynamic. We are moving in an environment that changes all the time. So there are three basic questions that we need to answer as decision makers. Where is the oil spill right now, and where is it going to be in the following hours or days? What are the characteristics of the spill, and when the oil is going to reach the shoreline? So in order to address all these questions, we have developed EOS Viewer. And EOS Viewer is a digital platform designed to be a one-stop shop for oil spill monitoring and reporting. It's based on intensive use of satellite imagery, SAR and optical. It uses advanced analytics based on artificial intelligence models. We can identify the source when the spill is clearly connected to a ship using AIS data, and we can forecast the trajectory of the spill using advanced modeling already integrated in the platform. So let's see some use cases. How you can use this tool? Well, you could potentially use this tool for MARPOL enforcement. As you know quite well, MARPOL is the international treaty that tells the ships how they should dispose oily waste. Unfortunately, some ships discharge oily waste illegally at sea, and many countries have the mandate to control this behavior. So here we are seeing a real case detected in the Mediterranean Sea, where we can detect the spill, characterize it, and identify the source. You could use this tool also for asset monitoring. So let's say that you have some oil rigs in the offshore oil rigs at sea. So this is again a real case after Hurricane Ida in the Gulf of Mexico. Some submarine pipelines broke, and they produced some major oil spills close to the shoreline. So we controlled this event, we characterized the spill, and produced all the information in digital format for our clients. And of course, you can use our tool for emergency response. This is one of the satellite images that we analyzed this summer for the Syria oil spill crisis. This day, the spill was covering an area of more than 1,000 square kilometers of marine surface. The nice thing of using optical data is that we can derive not only the surface of the spill, but we can also understand where the thick oil is located. And that means that we can understand where you should focus your response efforts, because as we can see here in the graphic, less than 2% of the surface contains between 40 to 50% of the volume. We're very glad this is an exclusive product derived by the analysis of optical imagery, and it's exclusive in the market. So how are we different? We have designed the most advanced system for oil spill monitoring and reporting. We count with more than 25 years of combined operational experience working at the Spanish Coast Guard. We aim at being the fastest service in the market. We know we are dealing with real emergencies. The platform has been designed to be very intuitive. So one-stop shop digital solution providing all what the customer needs. And the artificial intelligence models have been trained by experts. And I mean experts with real operational experience in identifying oil spills in remote sensing data, supported by experts in artificial intelligence. That helps us improve the accuracy by 60% over what is there in the market right now. So we are Orbital EOS. We are a spin-off of the Spanish Coast Guard, and we use space to take care of our planet. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you, Juan, for doing it so succinctly. That helps us with a few minutes.
Sure.
Love it. Albert and Pat, back to you.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. I'll be quick here too. I think this is very timely that GEO has always had a very focused eye on disaster risk reduction following the Sendai framework. And more recently, I think about a year ago, they launched a disaster risk reduction work group. That may be an area for you to look into, as well as Geodharma. There's a high-level flagship initiative that focuses on disaster risk reduction. I think for your benefit and all of the presenters here, there is, I put a link in the chat that to the GEO work program. There's a very nice kind of overview of, there's a chart that shows all the different initiatives, and you can drill in there and look at the implementation plans. And I think that's a great place to start. But thank you very much for your presentation.
That'd be great.
Very timely and critical tools.
Yeah, Yuan, thank you. Thank you so much for the presentation. Your business model is very clear. At some point, I was like, okay, are they going to add detection, to the monitoring? But that's too much to ask, for you to detect a oil spill from your company. But I mean, doing the monitoring and being able to provide a quick response and to the decision makers is something that is really needed. And yes, so very good model, very good presentation too. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. You're welcome.
Thank you, Juan. And best of luck as you roll it out. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Our next company is from China. We're going to hear about IMAP Cloud, presented to us by Mr. Huang. Oh, is that changed? Is that Feng? But over to IMAP Cloud. All right. Feng, will you be taking us through IMAP Cloud? If so, you're on mute. There we go. Perfect. Welcome.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, thanks for listening. This is Feng Wenhui. Today, I'm going to talk about the ultra-low altitude drone observation network and applications. How can I share the presentation? Just
The presentation,
wait for a moment.
The presentation is being shared. We can see it. Yes, perfect.
Oh, it's too fast.
It is a bit fast.
Is it too fast?
Feng, would you like
Is
us
that
to
okay?
present? No, it was very quick. Would you like us to share your presentation from here? We can bring it up.
Is that okay now?
No, we can't see your presentation now.
Okay, can Justin help
Yes.
me to present PowerPoint?
We'll share it from here. Just give us a second and we'll bring it up.
Okay, thank you.
There you go. All right.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Dear ladies and gentlemen, thanks for listening. This is Wenhui Feng. Today, I'm going to talk about the ultra-low altitude drone observation network and applications. Our company is a high-tech enterprise dedicated to research and the development of geospatial intelligent products. Next slide, please. Our company is a high-tech enterprise dedicated to the research and development of geospatial intelligent products and provides ultra-low altitude drone remote sensing network operation services and industry solutions. Next slide, please. We provide a new concept of the Drone Observation Network. This network is a space-based Internet of Things. We can use the drone base stations to command and dispatch the drone group to achieve high frequency, amended, and comprehensive resources. Next page. Next slide, please. Yeah. Those are our main products. At the previous slide, please. The previous one, please. Those are our main products, iNet series. They are the intelligent drone base stations. We provide different types of the base stations for various industries according to different coverage areas and the needs of different operating scenarios. Please pay attention that our base stations can be connected with our software to provide remote control services. Next slide, please. As you can see, this is the workflow for our main products. First of all, we can plan the route through the drone geospatial operation system. Then, through the 5th generation base communication technology, the drone inside the base station can be issued with inspection taxes, and the drones will automatically take off from the base station through the AI module and other technologies to capture the data. Finally, it can generate an automatic analysis report from the drone geospatial operation system. Next slide, please. These are the sensors we can offer. We can offer different types of sensors according to various application scenarios. Next slide, please. This is the drone geospatial operation systems. As you can see from the right-hand side, it has 4 functions. The first one is intelligent base station remote. The second one is multi-source data dynamic acquisition. The third one is the mass data analysis and mining. The fourth one is spatial temporal data visualization. Next slide, please. Let's see what we have done so far in AquaWatch. Next slide, please. We provide the intelligent water solutions with the intelligent drone base station, offering a new approach for water quality monitoring. We have established a water environment remote sensing monitoring network that integrates layers of air, space, and ground. These 3 layers can form an integrated remote sensing monitoring system from the sky to the ground. Next slide, please. We provide these intelligent water solutions with the 5th generation base communication technology, plus our main products, plus the AI technology. The first line you can see from the screen is the pictures shows the drone inspection and data collection in different application scenarios. The second row of images is the system to those scenarios. Next slide, please. These are the further examples. In the scene of previous slide, the data types shown on the left-hand side can be captured by the drone. This data can be applied to the specific scenarios, such as the identification of sewage outlet shown on the right, and illegal sand mining. Next slide, please. Let's see what we can do in data integration and analysis system. Next slide, please. As you can see from the above descriptions, by integrating our software and hardware equipment, our company is carrying out the Intelligent Grid Urban Management Project based on the 5th generation base communication technology. and the drone networking technology, covering an area of 143 square kilometers in Danzhou town in Foshan City. The intelligent grid urban management solution can provide a set of inspection and analyzing services for public security, emergency response, urban management, land inspection, water conservancy, environmental protection, and other government departments in Danzhou town. The feature of our solution is it can provide just one set of service to all departments, which means those departments can utilize or share the same data source. It can improve traditional method of drone inspection operation. The inspection frequency, coverage, and response time of drone inspection operation have been greatly improved. It can achieve a complete closed loop from discovering problems, analyzing problems, to solving problems. Next slide, please. Our future outlook is, and next slide, please. Our future outlook is becoming the world's leading ultra-low altitude drone remote sensing service provider. We plan to set up research projects under the GEO frame and plan to participate in future GEO work plans and project applications to provide more advanced technologies approaches for GEO in the future. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was really intriguing. Patton and Albert, would you like to share your views?
Very, very quickly, very impressive. It's quite a complete suite, and we haven't heard a lot about the drone usage in the GEO community so much. I'm thinking that as you were talking about water quality, I think that's something that's very much of interest to the community here, to the GEO community. Maybe connecting in through some of the GeoBond and biodiversity and their work on essential variables. I'd look at that area. But thank you very much. Very impressive.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Finn. I was as well impressed by your presentation, and even more so by your goals at the end, the last slide, when you show what your goals are. And I think there is a market for what you're trying to achieve. I only have one question. How many drones can you handle at the same time? Your base stations. How many drones can the base station handle?
Now we have roughly 200 space stations.
Yeah, but each base station can handle how many drones?
In China. There are many in China.
Yes, but how many drones can each base station manage? Like, how many drones can you send at the same time out for one base station?
The one base station is just controlled one drone, but we can control 4 base stations in the same time, which means we can control 4 drones in the same time.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Albert and Pat. I must echo it. Excellent presentation.
Thank
very
you so
impressive objectives. So all the very best. 1 million drones to be installed. So we're looking forward to that. All the best. All the best.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay. Very good. We go on to our next organization, TerraPulse Inc., represented by Mr. Saurabh Channan from the US. Hi, Saurabh.
Good morning. I believe Justine is loading up the slide. Yes. So good morning to everyone from East Coast, USA. Great presentation so far from everybody, all the speakers. Thank you, and also thank you, GEO, for this opportunity. I'm going to talk really quickly because I have to drop my daughter to school in about 7 or 8 minutes. So please bear with me. And I'm here with Johnny to talk about TerraPulse Inc., which is a software and data analytics company that uses machine learning and satellite imagery to provide insights about the Earth's terrestrial surface. Next slide, please. Here's a short outline for the presentation, where my goal is to give you enough time to ask questions, hopefully at the end of the presentation. Next slide. We are a small business based in Maryland. If you don't know where Maryland is, it's 20 minutes away from Washington, D.C. The co-founders at TerraPulse have been working with each other for over 10 years. Where we were researchers originally at University of Maryland, College Park, and we embarked on a journey together at a NASA-funded project to map the world's first forests, to build the world's first forest cover and change products globally at 30 meters. We built the product stack from ground up, working with NASA to first improve the surface reflectance algorithms, and then to develop the methods to map forest cover change. We have the team, between the team, we have published over 70 peer-reviewed papers, and more importantly, we enjoy working with each other and doing what we do. In 2014, we started the company to see if there is a product market fit. And in 2019, all the co-founders retired from the research positions at University of Maryland. And over the years, we have developed algorithms and software on the cloud for providing location intelligence globally. So now, how we do it? Next slide, please. We ingest essentially petabytes, vast amounts of satellite data, coupled with other land cover products from multi-sensors, LiDAR, JEDI, Sentinel-1, Sentinel-2, SAR, different sensor types, different platforms. And also, in some cases, tabular data, for example, forest inventory data that has been collected by the government agencies in Excel or CSV to build and train our models. Once the model is built, we then produce time serial data, which allows us to conduct time serial change detection. Once the data has been generated, we enable our users to access our product using TerraView, which is a visualization platform. And once the client has interacted with the data quickly and lets us know where the challenges are with our model, we improve it, we iterate through it very quickly. And then once they're satisfied with the results, we export the data based on the user spec, which could be a JSON, CSV, PDF report, or just simply API. The products that we have built, just a high-level overview, are above-ground biomass products, forest activity data, fire probability, rangeland monitoring, wetland-urban interface, and other land use, land cover change monitoring products. But for this purpose of this talk, I will be focusing mostly on forestry products for RED plus MRV effort. Next slide, please. Due to the temporal requirements of most of our clients in the context of building RED plus MRV, we leverage data from the Landsat program, which is a joint NASA-USGS program that has been acquiring images, scenes of the Earth's surface for almost half a century. Also, if there's anybody from NASA and USGS, congratulations on the recent launch of Landsat 9. The newly released images look fantastic. In most of our projects, the Landsat program allows us to provide our clients baselines from 1982, and then compare the forest activity data to present. Most of you already know what Landsat time looks like, but if not, here's what it looks like. Next slide. Where an image covers about 185 by 100 kilometer square area, and that same area is covered every 16 days. Now, this latency can be shortened by combining multiple Landsat platforms. In this case, these days we do Landsat 7 and 8, and which reduces the latency to about 8 days. When we take all the data available for a given region of interest and we sift through the tiles that are completely cloudy or have some issues, we can get that then we atmospherically correct the data. And at this point, the data is ready for our machine learning models. Next slide, please. So this allows us to harvest data for 40 years. Next slide, please. And here is this is how a global outlook of a tree, one of our products looks like. This is called a tree canopy covered product, where dark green represents dense canopy cover, and very light green is sparse or low canopy cover, which could be sparsely wooded forests, savannas, or young plantations. In generating a fractional canopy cover or continuous canopy cover, it allows us to globally model and then threshold the model based on the user's requirement, which is UNFCCC or FAO definition of canopy cover. We then use that to estimate categorical forest cover and change activity from that. Next slide, please. Here's an example of a country that we're working with currently, Belize. They came to us and said we wanted to build a forest activity data for their FREL, for the forest reference emission levels reporting, and said that it needs to be done in 4 months. This is typically a project that takes 2 years to do, but with the power of cloud computing, we're able to get it done. And of course, maturity of our platform, we're able to get it done in 4 months. We're still working on this. But in this case, they asked us for forest loss, forest gain, forest degradation, stand age, and water cover data. We were also requested to map their mangroves, as they wanted to include that as their land cover for their biomass estimation in terms of blue carbon. Belize, fortunately, also has a great amount of data that from their previous efforts, which included land cover data, forest inventory data, LiDAR, airborne LiDAR data, which we then onboarded into our system, ingested into our platform, and then calibrated our products based on that. We're currently designing a validation process, and we'll work with the local experts to validate our forest activity data. We have about a month left and are close to wrapping up this project. Next slide, please. Quickly wrapping up. So this allows us to then give them the TerraView platform. They visualize the data, like I said earlier. It's okay. And also capture local expertise to improve the model. Everybody knows that garbage in, garbage out is true phenomenon of machine learning. So we have to improve the model. There's no perfect model. And then once the data is done, we actually give our data to the user, or we can allow them to interact with our data through API. Next slide, please. Here are some of the projects national scale projects that we're working on currently, or have worked this year, just this year. That was Belize. We're also working with Costa Rica, Dominican Republic. In Philippines, we're working with United States Forest Service International Program. In Laos, earlier this year, we worked with the United Nations in GCF. And with NASA, we mapped the entire boreal forests to see the shift. Next slide, please. These are some of the partners that we worked with. And then the final slide is thank you very much for your time. We have a virtual booth set up, so if you have any questions, look forward to talking to you, and more importantly, look forward to working with the GEO community. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sarah. We definitely don't want to keep your daughter waiting either. So let's focus the inputs to you as briefly as possible, if they are. Pat and Albert, a few minutes.
No, run to school, and if you're not already connected with GeoGlam, reach out to GeoGlam. Excellent.
Yes, excellent presentation, sir. Just looking forward to your other products, and what we're gonna get out of here is very, very interesting.
Thank you so much. Thank you once again. Cheers.
Cheers, Sarah. Thank you. I beg your pardon, Elridge. We're moving on to Satellogic. Elridge, over to you. I think we have an audio challenge, Elridge. We can't hear you. No, not as yet. Okay. All right. In the interest of time, we'll bring Elridge back as soon as he comes back. He's just dropped off. I'm going to suggest we move on to Hilda. Hilda is founder and co-director of Geospatial Research International. Hilda is from Kenya, so looking forward, Hilda. The stage is yours.
Hello, thank you so much. Can you hear me?
So we can hear you, but have you shared your screen? We're not seeing any imagery.
No, I've not shared. I wanted to share, but I'm requesting Justin to just share my screen for
all right.
ease of.
Can you hear me now?
Elridge, sorry, we'll bring you in straight after Hilda, if that's all right.
Yep, that's all right. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Thanks. Okay.
Justin, kindly share my screen. Share my slides.
Yes, it's coming up, Hilda, in a second.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, Geo, for giving me this opportunity to come and present. We are Geospatial Research International, basically a service provider company working and ensuring the application of GIS and remote sensing in the fields of agriculture, water, and environment. So today I will be presenting one of the products that we have been working on, which is the Colruyt tool, a tool that we developed in collaboration with our partners, RCMD, GMES and Africa Union, who are the main donors in this particular development of this tool. So what I would like to jog our minds on is basically ask ourselves, what is value? What is it that we value mostly in our lives? Because there are various dimensions of value. And is it possible to take care of something whose value is unknown? You know, that is what we thought about as Geospatial Research Company when we're developing this particular tool that we are calling COLWED, the cost of land and wetland degradation. Next slide, please. Cool. Quite a lot of information there. I'm not going to be reading all that, but in summary, I'd like to say that the COLWED tool is anchored on the Millennium Ecosystem Assessment. It's also anchored on the economics of ecosystem and biodiversity. We have also looked at several global conventions and frameworks, such as the Convention of Biological Diversity, Environmental Economic Accounting, the United Nations Convention to combat desertification, and quite a number of those kind of frameworks to assist us in developing this tool. It is intended for valuation modeling purposes as an essential step in an active ecosystem valuation in decision-making process, while the degraded areas we targeted in ensuring that we can have a tool that can enable us monitor conservation frameworks in degraded areas. Because most of the time you find there's a lot of investment, there's a lot of work going on in the restoration of degraded areas. We have new areas that are becoming degraded, and it has been very difficult for us to be able to bridge the gaps. And I believe that is why the UNCCD was able to also come up with the land degradation neutrality, something now most of the countries are reporting on. And we believe this tool can be able to assist in the monitoring of ecosystems in terms of looking at, are we moving towards degraded area? Are we operating in a sustainable way, or we are able to basically conserve that ecosystem in entirety? Next slide, please. So what is this Colruyt tool? Is a tool that we anchored on ArcGIS. We developed it using the models in ArcGIS, and is a 25 inbuilt sub-model. 24 of the sub-model have been developed to quantify and value 24 respective ecosystem services, cutting across 3 different ecosystem services. And then we have one of the sub-models that is actually for the summation of the individual ecosystem, so that people can be able to visualize the value in totality. So one thing we should note is that the Colruyt tool uses actual data for estimation, and both the biophysical indicators and the economic values. And to ensure robustness, then sensitivity analysis have been performed on all the sub-models. What is of interest as I make this presentation is that emerging Earth observation-based approaches are increasingly gaining momentum in natural resource accounting. However, limitations still exist, especially where the mappability of some of the indicators necessary for the quantification of ecosystem services is a challenge. However, we have made some major strides globally by actually looking at indirect indicator mapping methodologies, some of which actually we have incorporated in this particular tool. Next slide, please. So what are these ecosystem services that have been used to build the Colwell tool? We have biodiversity and habitat conservation. We have culture and recreation and education. We have wood-based energy and timber from forest, shrublands, and wetland vegetation. We have wetland products. We have looked at entirety, what kind of wetland products that you are working with. We have climate change mitigation, where we're looking at carbon sequestration. We have water storage. We have waste treatment and purification. Next slide. Flood control. Next. Sediment and nutrient retention. And there's a last one, the soil erosion. So next slide, please. So this is basically the Colwell outlook. As you can see, it's As you can see, it's developed on the model on the ArcGIS, the Colwell toolbox. But currently, we are finalizing on a standalone tool because of the demand from the various users and the need for accessibility. Next slide, please. In our next slide, we've just given examples of some of the models that we have done. The flood control model. It's a model that is able to value the various ecosystems that are reducing flood. Next slide, please. We have the nutrient retention, which is basically a wetland model that is looking at the ability of wetlands to retain nutrients. Next slide, please. We have the water storage wetland model. There's a very interesting model that looks at the functionality of a natural ecosystem of a wetland in terms of how it has been operating optimally and currently how it is operating. And then we calculate that value to be able to monitor based on the different uses that this particular ecosystem is giving in terms of use, whether it's domestic use, water for irrigation, hydropower, and the various uses different wetland ecosystems have. Next slide, please. So one thing that we would like to echo across is that the Colwell tool cannot function on its own. It requires a particular methodology. It requires a particular approach for you to be able to carry out ecosystem accounting. So one of the major steps is the preliminary work, where if you're an organization, you have to define the objectives behind why you need to undertake an ecosystem accounting. If it's a government institution, is a private sector intending to invest in a particular area, if it's even a donor that is giving money for the restoration of a particular ecosystem, there's a framework through which we operate. Next, please. The second step is the scoping appraisal, where you look at the spatial dimensions of the services, the complementary and conflicting services. And then the third step, we have the evaluation model, where now the Colwell tool comes in. And then we have the communication of economic values of ecosystem services to key stakeholders and decision makers. So it allows for a complementary way of working through and ensuring that once you carry out an ecosystem accounting of a degraded ecosystem, you can be able to know that, are we moving towards a point of conservation? Is it beyond restoration? And what needs to be done in terms of coming up with the various values of the very many ecosystem services emanating from a particular ecosystem. Next slide, please. So basically, these are some of the map products that we were able to undertake when we were developing this particular tool. What you see there on the map is a very important ecosystem called the Yellowsam, which has over the years been degraded. It was a very good tourism site. We had unique antelopes that were found there, but they're no longer there. So when you bring out that value, you are able to invoke decision makers towards aspects that they need to conserve. Because sometimes when people look at an ecosystem, you might think it is not so much degraded. But then you particularly go in and start valuing or calculating the ecosystem services, then you're able to appreciate the value first of that ecosystem and how far the degradation has taken place. Next slide, please. is the same yellow sum where we did now the totality of the ecosystem services. The value there is indicated in the local Kenyan currency to showcase actually the value of yellow sum as it is. And then the most important thing about the Colwell tool, it is able to identify the services that currently are in existence, because when you compare yellow sum with maybe 30 years before, there could be some ecosystem services that are no longer available to the local users and also to other stakeholders or other secondary users. What is important to mention about the Colwell tool, we had an opportunity to work with the IUCN, where we did a socioeconomic impact of mangrove conservation frameworks. And it was interesting what came out of that study. The fact that through the Colwell tool, we were able to tie in socioeconomic survey information and the other observation data. So where we did our analysis and we were able to get certain values and certain values were increasing, it actually went hand in hand with socioeconomic surveys that were brought on board to confirm the same information. Where are we and what is it that we are looking forward? We are looking at actually two things, building a baseline data for degraded hotspot areas in Africa and beyond, so that through that baseline data, we can be able to build a geoportal for continuous monitoring of degraded lands, so that as much as we do a lot of funding and a lot of restorative activities, we can be able to see whether we are making any gains, and if we're not making any gains, what is happening? What is happening to the primary users? What is happening to the secondary users? And where do we need to make corrections? And finally, as I wind up, is that we're looking at a lot of stakeholder sensitization towards adoption of this particular tool for decision making, be it the government institutions, be it the private sector, be it the non-governmental institutions that look at restoration of degraded lands and look at basically entirety the monitoring of ecosystem services or ecosystems to ensure that they do not get degraded or there is sustainable use. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Hilda, thank you so much. Please have a look at the chat. I see Stephen has made some suggestions on some of the Geo Week sessions that might be of interest to you. So,
sorry, I seem not to hear one.
If you can have a look at the chat, Stephen has just outlined something that might be of interest to you in the broader Geo Week itinerary of events happening. But if I can invite Albert and Pat to maybe share their comments about your presentation as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Great presentation. You covered a lot of ground. I really like that you outlined the kind of the process, the workflow, because I think that's commonly a missing piece, and that people may understand the data, but not that whole workflow of approaching a project. So thank you. I'm also very interested in one of the last comments you were talking about creating, at least for Africa, or maybe starting for Africa, a land degradation hotspots map. And I think that's something that would be very much of interest to the GEO community. I hope you'll be able to openly share that with the GEO community. I think the GEO LDN, the Land Degradation Neutrality work group would be, initiative would be very interested in this. And I also encourage you to look into the GEO Ecosystem Accounting, the EO4EA. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Hilda, for the presentation. Clearly, there is a goal for what you do. There is a need for what you bring. And the stakeholders that you are dealing with now are very well identified. I'm thinking of government at the federal or local level. I'm thinking of international organizations that are pushing for better management of land. But you mentioned at some point wanted to involve the private sector. So my only suggestion will be to think about the offerings that you can have for the private sector. Are you looking at mining companies? Are you looking at forest management or entities and stuff of that nature. In which case, I think you should think very, very, very deep through what you need to offer them. There is definitely something of interest for them in what you are doing, but the packaging is not the same as what a government may buy from you. But overall, it's a very good presentation and a very good product, I think.
Thank you so much.
Excellent. Thank you, Albert. Thank you, Pat. And thank you, Hilda. We're going to get Ulrich back on screen to
Yes.
take us through Logic. Welcome
Hopefully
back.
you can hear me now.
Loud and clear.
All right. I'm going to start sharing my screen. Hello, everybody. Very happy to be here today and doing this presentation. Could you please let me know if you can see my screen now?
I think it's coming up. Yes, it's up. Thank you.
All right. So I'm going to be doing a presentation about Cytologic. What is Cytologic and what is our purpose in the geospatial world? So starting off a little bit of the company overview, Cytologic is a company that is about 11 years old now. We are a completely vertical integrated company. We are based in different locations worldwide with about 8 offices in 35 different locations. So we are based in North America, Latin America, and in Europe. So what we do basically is that we are completely vertical integrated. We manufacture all our satellites in-house. So what you're seeing here is a quick overview of our spacecrafts, which are about 40 kilograms in size, and we fly them at orbits about 475 kilometers. And basically, this is what we are building to sort of democratize the access to satellite imagery. A little bit of the history of success and our technological evolution, as you can see on this slide. Since the beginning of the company, we have been developing our technology, improving our technology, so that we could get to where we are right now, and where we could have these spacecrafts that enables us to democratize the access to satellite imagery. Our offering portfolio is made of, so if you look on your left-hand side, we offer satellite imagery, and then we also offer AI solutions for planetary scale insights. The third thing is that we have what we call the space as a service, and we call in Cytologic this as the dedicated satellite constellation. And then the fourth thing is the hosted payload program, where basically you can test new sensors and hardware in orbit without having to deal with the cost of launching a satellite. So if I talk a little bit about this dedicated satellite constellation, is where you would have your own in-country missions, where you could operate from your operation center without having to deal with the cost of launching a constellation. You would have access to Cytologic's fleet to serve the different stakeholders that you would have in your country. So this is very interesting, especially for countries who are starting to develop a geospatial infrastructure. So with our products, we are looking at the different verticals. We are helping governments and big corporations to build and operate turnkey infrastructure for the collection, analysis, and implementation of insights from Earth observation. I'll talk a little bit about our constellations and the products that we have. Currently, we have 17 satellites in orbit. Our goal is to have 300 plus satellites by 2025, because we are creating a searchable Earth, so that with this, we will have a capacity that, for example, you as the end user, you would have no need to even task a satellite, because we would be actively collecting imagery. So in this case, we would be able to daily remap the whole planet every single day. Just a quick overview on our roadmap. So at this point, we have 17 satellites in orbit operational. By next year, we are going to have 60 plus, and then when we get to 2025, we'll have about 300 plus satellites in orbit. Now, if we look at the different products that we have, the first product is multispectral images. They are native 99 centimeter resolution. We have a local algorithm that drops this resolution into 70 centimeter. The second product is the hyperspectral images at 25-meter resolution. And then we have a full motion video that we also do from space with our satellites. So all these, and with the 17 satellites that we currently have in orbit, we can basically revisit any single spot on Earth at least 1 to 2 times per day. Just a quick overview of the different specs that we have on our satellites. So our multispectral images, they have about 4 bands. Hyperspectral images, they have 29 bands, and this is just a quick overview. I don't want to spend so much time here because the time is short. Just a very interesting thing to know is that this year we received the gold, silver, and bronze medals in the NGA Imagery Olympics. So we got best multispectral imaging of 4 bands. We got the silver medal for best hyperspectral, and then we got the bronze medal for best electro-optical, basically the average revisits per day. This is a quick overview on our platform on how you can have access to this catalog of everything on Earth. It's a very easy to use platform. We just launched a new version of this platform, which we're calling a lab. Quite interesting, and then I'm sure that I'll be able to give you all the showcase at another opportunity, and please feel free to reach out to me for that. Just a couple of use cases that we have been developing, but not only us, also our partners, through the use of our imagery in different locations worldwide. This is a quick overview of the full motion video that we can do with our spacecrafts, and just some of the imagery in our gallery, different locations on Earth again, just for you to see the type of detail and resolution that we can capture with our satellites worldwide. This would be all for my presentation, and thank you all very much.
Wow, Ulrich, that's impressive. 17 satellites and several more to go. So open to Albert and Pat. It's going to be quite an interesting upstream, downstream feedback.
Oh, I was going to let Albert go first this time. I've been jumping in. That's
right. No, please go ahead, Pat.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I'm not very impressive accomplishment, and I think the quality of your work certainly is clear through the acknowledgments from NGA and others. I think it's an impressive collection of satellites and opportunity for new high quality data that I know that the GEO community will be interested in. And it just brings to mind that this is really kind of going way upstream. But I think the real focus of GEO is how to take that data and turn that data into actionable information. And I think you can bring insights in that at that end of the spectrum as well to this community. So I really hope to get Satellogic more involved in the GEO program. Thank you for your work.
Thank you, Pat.
Yeah. Thank you, Eldridge. Very, very good presentation. The first one that I hear from Satellogic. And I heard about your company, I think 2-3 years ago, when you were having I think you were getting a huge investment from, I don't know what sources, but it's already impressive to have a company of this nature coming from an emerging market, because from those who don't know, Satellogic is originated from Argentina, and what they are doing now is very comparable to what other large with probably deeper pocket companies are doing out there. So having already 17 satellites on the sky and planning to add much more and doing the sub-meter resolution is very impressive. So I'm just looking for what the future holds for you. So thank you, and thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you, Albert.
Absolutely share that sentiment. All the very best, Albert. Right. Finally, we get to have a look at Skywatch. Joel Cumming, the CTO of Skywatch. Floor is yours, Joel.
Thank you. Just sharing my screen. Great. So thanks to everybody for hanging around this long, but pleasure to introduce you to Skywatch. My name is Joel Cumming and I'm the CTO. So a little bit of background about our company. The company was formed in 2014 at the NASA Space Apps Challenge. If you're not familiar with that, it's a global event that draws thousands of people from around the world. Skywatch was fortunate enough where a number of people went to the event in Toronto. Our founders met, didn't know each other there, ended up winning the Toronto event, went on to the global event and won that for best use of data. And from there, the company was formed. Over the next few years, we were fortunate enough to be incubated through some great labs like Creative Destruction, Google for Entrepreneurs, and Techstars. And just last summer, we announced our Series B round closing 17 million US. At Skywatch, we really believe that commercial Earth observation data should be accessible to everyone. But we know this is actually difficult because it's cost prohibitive for most. Data costs are the largest barrier to wide-scale Earth observation adoption. And I know what you're thinking. Wait a minute. We've got all these lower costs, lower launch costs, smaller satellites, lower sensors, and data costs are incredibly low compared to 1990 when 1 gigabyte of data cost $10,000. Today it costs 2 cents to store for a year. So with all of these low costs, why is cost still the largest barrier to wide-scale Earth observation adoption? Well, today Earth observation data customers bear the high costs of things like minimum order sizes for commercial data, painful integrations, which many times are manual, slow turnaround times, and the fact that satellite companies must pass their high costs along to be profitable. So these costs really come from two main areas. The first is a lack of automation, and the second is the failure to abstract complexity. So let's go back with a brief history of Earth observation data delivery. If you go back to the 1970s, some people may remember punch cards being delivered by truck. That's how imagery was delivered. In the 80s, we had tapes delivered by mail. In the 90s, we started to get more GIS and some niche use cases. And then in the 2000s, we were seeing lots more satellites in orbit, those data storage costs dropping, but it was still very slow and lots of logistical challenges. In the 2010s, we saw the advent of cloud computing, the acceleration of commercial EO and venture capital funding, which really started to change the game. In 2015 to 2020, we saw even more low-cost, high-revisit imagery options that were good enough, but still were bottlenecked by immature data distribution platforms. And looking at 2020 and beyond, what we see is widespread Earth observation adoption for machine learning and artificial intelligence, and autonomous fulfillment from large market-driven demand. So, if you wanted to order imagery today, even though we're in much better place than we were back from those punch card deliveries by truck, let's look at what it would take. First of all, you have to navigate a complex pricing grid. There's different prices for different times, different bands, even different satellites in the same company. There's typically regional sales teams, and if you want to understand how much something costs, you actually have to email in quotes most of the time. And to get the attention of the sales team, generally it's a large minimum order size, which is very expensive. And then finally, when you decide what you want, there's PDF order farms and offline payments that are required. So we also need human-based image processing. Typically in the past, it's used desktop software to work. And that data then is delivered via FTP, which is difficult to automate. Also, there's lots of size involved in this data, massive products, and really no industry standard format. And in fact, if you want to start a holy war, just go to a conference and spark a debate by saying, hey, what's your favorite data format in a group of EO specialists? We also have varying degrees of product accuracy. And this leads to frustration and manual effort and high costs. But there is a new space model. And that's what I want to talk to you today about EarthCache. EarthCache is a platform that combines multiple sources into one place. We have a simple pricing model and feasibility with an API or a web console. Here's an example of a screenshot showing, our archive search, a result from more than one different satellite operator, and the price that you want to pay for that area of interest that you've drawn or you've uploaded. For tasking, for future-facing orders, we give simple pricing as well, aggregating all of the supply. On the right side of this screen, you can see a feature that we have yet to release, but is coming soon, our probability calculator that is actually estimating things like weather and feasibility and revisit to determine if a satellite can capture the data that you're requesting. And that's all prior to actually ordering it. So now we've got what really is a global market with virtually zero distribution costs. And what we can see here is the demand for different types of imagery, whether it's high, medium, or low resolution. We've also integrated pay-as-you-go billing so that you're not being charged for things that you're not using. If you consume data, you're billed for it. If a data is not collected, you're not. There's no minimums that are required. And we also have automated processing with no humans in the loop. That means we can get delivery of data within minutes of acquisition in a standardized analysis-ready data format. We deliver co-registered and highly accurate data, and that means things are simple and fast and low cost. And at the end of the day, we have delighted customers. So, ideas are interesting, but execution is everything. Aggregation is the way that we can control high fulfillment to our customers. Simple pricing is a way that we can draw in the non-Earth observation experts to leverage this data and start to increase demand. Data normalization makes it easy for data scientists to leverage our data from any supplier, but get the bands in the same order and the same metadata coming out of our platform. We also enable machine-to-machine ordering delivery. That means we have a lower barrier to adoption. And at the end of the day, our customers look like heroes, and that's what we want. So, I'll leave you with a quote from a pioneer in the computer science industry. The purpose of abstraction is not to be vague, but to create a new semantic level in which one can be precise. So I'd encourage everyone out there, stop doing the heavy lifting. Start simplifying. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joe. I love that quote. Ideas are interesting, but execution is everything. With your permission, I'm going to use that somewhere.
Go for it.
Excellent. Pat and Albert. Or Albert, you first this time.
Yeah, thank you, Joel. I like the idea of having a one-stop place to order satellite imaging. I mean, every day now, it seems like we have new companies offering to sell satellites. So I think it's very good if people can go to one place and put what their needs are, and have you navigate through the different offerings of those companies and come up with whatever people need. So it's the concept is very great. Is something of interest. One simple question: most companies that sell satellite imaging also sell time on the satellite. Is it something that you consider? Like, you can actually buy time on the satellite through Skywatch?
Yeah, so I guess you could consider it sort of like a virtual constellation. So there's no one particular satellite. Now, you could specify which satellite you want to get the data from, but generally what we're looking to do is fulfill a request. So, you may or may not get fulfillment from one provider, but we can aggregate the supply and then get fulfillment from more than one. So there are those options there if you want to specify, but hopefully that answers your question.
Okay. Thank you, Joel.
Thanks, Albert.
All right, I'll jump in very quick. Very nice presentation. I really like the messaging about simplifying. I think that's definitely something that we all need. And I've always thought that there's so much work that needs to be done and so much good work that can be done with data. If we all kind of play to our strengths and do our part, we can all move forward faster. And I think you have a lot to contribute to GEO in that context. I saw in the chat that it looks like you're already in conversations with the Mera GEO, and maybe a collaboration there might emerge, and I'd be excited to see that. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Pat.
Fantastic, Joel. Thank you very much as well, bringing to a great close the company profiling section of day one, and with that, the end of day one, just 40 minutes behind schedule, unfortunately. But thank you all for hanging in there. Tomorrow's day starts at 8 a.m. Central European Time, and looking forward to seeing all of you there. You will be hosted by Albert tomorrow. You will be your master of ceremonies. And what is the focus right now is, I believe, the networking session has been opened. Justin, is that correct? For the next hour or so. So please take advantage of that. Thank you once again for your patience. Apologies for the unexpected technical difficulties in some presentations. We're certainly going to try and get Ravimbo's presentation shared with you in the course of the next day as well. So thank you all, and enjoy the rest of the networking opportunity, and we'll see you all tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. CET. All the best.